Now reconvene the open meeting. Before we do, let me put an announcement I normally give at the beginning. I'm requesting that all cell phones, electronic devices be turned off or in a mute position as not to disturb the meeting. Any member of the public also has a right to make an audio or video recording of an open session of a public meeting. A member of the public who wishes to record a meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with reasonable requirements regarding audio video equipment established by the chair so as not to interfere with the meeting. The chair is required to inform other attendees of such recording at the beginning of the meeting. There is a reporter today that is recording. Okay, thank you. We had roll call prior, so Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Council on Aging Food Pantry is in desperate need of donations. If you can please help by dropping off some of your donations right here in this building at the Council on Aging, it'd be greatly appreciated. In particular, they're looking for hot and cold cereals. That doesn't mean you make them before you bring them. That kind of threw me when I first read it. Canned vegetables, fruits, applesauce, apple juice, chicken noodle soup, peanut butter and jelly crackers. I think Mrs. Begley usually has some in her bag. Pancake mix, syrup, canned tuna, baked and other canned beans, sugar, coffee, and as always, canned ravioli and other like meals. As always, please check expiration dates because if it is expired, they have to throw it away. The Wareham Middle School PTA will be hosting a special presentation on bullying, and this will be held on Thursday, February 16th at 7 p.m. in the Wareham Middle School auditorium. Mini golf returns to our library on February the 19th. For the Friends, will tee off at 10 a.m. and finish at 4 p.m. Adults can show off their skills for $5, while children age 12 and under will play for $3. So it was a great event last year. Again, that's February 19th, and the golfing is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Wareham Free Library. There'll be a Valentine dinner dance to benefit Turning Point on February 17th from 7 to 11 p.m. at the Wareham Elks Lodge. Tickets are $15 per person if purchased in advance and $18 at the door. As most of you know, Turning Point is a homeless resource center located here in Wareham. The South Coast Blood Bank is on the move. In this month, for the month of February, if you donate a pint of blood, you'll be eligible to win a family packet for some Bruins tickets. The van was here last Friday. It will also be here tomorrow, Wednesday, February 8th, at the Wareham Lodge of the Elks from 11 to 5 p.m. So if you donate a pint of blood, you will get your name entered in. It's the Providence Bruins tickets. I don't want anybody coming back to me looking for real Bruins tickets. Not that the Providence Bruins aren't real. Chemo Caps for Kids fundraiser. Date February 11th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come join us as we create caps for children in Boston hospitals undergoing chemotherapy. Knitters and crocheters are welcome. They'll have raffle, enjoy a light refreshment, and company with each other. And that's at the location is the Thomas Michael's Kitchens, 3127 Cranberry Highway. Again, February 11th from 10 to 4. The Wareham Village Association will hold their monthly meeting at 5:30 p.m. at Eastern Bank on 226 Main. Light refreshments will be served. They invite any and all to attend. Again, that's the Wareham Village Association, and it's the second Thursday of every month. Mr. Schneider, you have anything?
I have nothing.
Mrs. Begley? Mr. Cruz? Oh, right. It's on the agenda, isn't it? The last day to submit petition articles to be inserted in the warrant for town meeting is Friday, March the 9th, 2012. And I'm assuming that's 4 p.m., correct? That's March 9th for any articles you'd like submitted on the town meeting. Citizens participate. Oh, did you have any announcements?
No, I'll announce it now.
Citizens participation.
One in the back, on the left-hand side. We've been having trouble with the mic, so try to speak up, 'cause I know the people at home have been complaining about.
Yeah, unless you get right on top of it, it doesn't
Yeah, I think
work
that's
at all.
Thank you.
Alan Slavin, 36 Oak Street. On the March 9th deadline for the citizens petitions, basically, over the years, a lot of times the citizens, when they do their own articles, they don't have much help legally. And I'm wondering whether the town will provide or does provide a service through Attorney Bowen, where someone can come in with an article that could be vetted ahead of time, because we've had issues over the last several years where articles aren't quite correct and it goes back and forth, and sometimes they can't even get on the floor. So it's something that would be worthwhile to look at.
Right. I think we have something in place, but he'll.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, thank you. My open office hours on Thursdays serves as a filter for that, Mr. Slavin, because we would want to make obviously certain that the language that would be provided for the article would obviously meet the letter of the law. So if individuals have questions on any item like that, they can come see me on Thursdays between 2 and 5:30.
Maybe if it's also possible, put it up on the website so people know the service is available. It's never really been noticed that it's actually there available to the people, that's all.
I'm happy to put it up there, and I do talk and have actually my own TV show, which I'm sure you've watched quite often.
Of course.
So we'll talk about it, but once again, I want to make sure that the board and the citizens understand that the article has to be in some form for us to understand it and to research it, if in fact it is something that is obviously within the guidelines of the law. I'm happy to look at that any Thursday afternoon, Alan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have one in the back to the right. Speak up and identify yourself, please.
My name is Sharon Gomes. I'm part of the Oakdale Betterment. I have a couple of questions, and I'll try to talk fast because I know you're against time. One of the questions is a couple of weeks ago was discussed that we were going to have a workshop. My idea when I left here, I thought it was going to be open to the public and open to contract too for questions. We are yet waiting to find out, is this going to be open to the public?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, through you, we did get obviously we had to try to get everybody together, all of those people that we listed, the Board of Health agent, et cetera, right? We do have that scheduled for February 28th. It's a Tuesday night, 7 p.m., right here in this room.
Okay, more questions?
No, it's open to, it's a public
hearing?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's a public meeting.
Okay, but we will be able to ask questions and get answers, because we have yet to get answers on the whole project. From the first.
The meeting is not specifically about contract 2.
No, it's about the sewer.
Correct.
Okay.
All sewer business. There was about 8 topics on that agenda.
Okay. My question too is
So
that.
I want to make sure I'm clear that I don't think I answered your question. You want to know if you come on Tuesday night, can you ask a question?
Yes.
Is that?
Yes.
I don't see why you wouldn't. It would be up to Mr. Cruz, but I don't know why you wouldn't be allowed.
Mr. Chairman,
It's a workshop.
Mr. Snyder.
yeah, and from my standpoint, I think that this is about the residents and all of these contracts, and I think it is about informing them of what the current situation is. not just for us to discuss the issues. So I think it's absolutely appropriate that residents be allowed to ask questions. I'm also a little bit concerned about scheduling this room as the venue.
We could move it.
I would strongly suggest that we consider another location, simply because, you know, this room isn't very large, and I'm sure that there are a lot of folks out there with questions that they'd like to have answered.
Well, we have 3 weeks, so we could, it's all right with the chairman, you know, we can move it across the
Yeah, I
hall.
think that maybe
We
the
did
town
wanna
hall,
make sure that we
yeah, the
had
town hall will
cable.
probably be, oh
We
yeah,
wanted to
that'll
make
be
sure
set
we
up.
had cable TV available.
Right, I understand, but I do think, and I think that 3 weeks is enough time to have, you know, WCTV set up something for the residents.
There you go.
Okay. And another thing is I've been coming to the meetings and listening to the meetings, and you are the decision makers. And I hear people say all the time, and in this area, this is not this is a residential area where people have owned their homes for 40, 50 years. In talking to some people, I mean, they're concerned with this betterment, and I hear here in front of the board, oh, it's going to be in the lower 20s. That's a big concern, because you're talking about people's taxes, or being put on their taxes, $2,000. And then if you're talking about the usage, you're asking people to pay more than $2,000 a year. People in this area, this used to be considered a low-income area. People in this area are retirees. I mean, there's a big impact. Lower 20s, and to take it mild, that this is not going to impact somebody that has owned their home for 40, 50 years. You're talking about well over, and this is not even connection fee. The usage, what you want to put on somebody's taxes, and especially at the way the economy is today, is awful. So the whole thing is not fair. And when I hear people say, because it's going to inflict in me, I take care of my mother, who is an elderly woman. So this impact is not only of me, it's of many people. And I ask you, the decision makers, to take that into consideration.
Thank you very much. I think we will. And that's what the workshop will be probably about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizen participation?
Good evening, Dave Walton, District 3. I don't want to be here. I don't want to sit here, but doggone it, I'm here. About 4 weeks ago, I made a comment. I talked about Steve and his son, how his son was very upset about people throwing a coffee cup out the window of a vehicle. And I made a comment thanking the people who had worked so hard to clean along Merchant's Way. But I would like everybody in here and everybody on TV, start by the pumping station and go down by the old railroad station. It's just taken 4 weeks to return it almost as bad as it was when all these people worked. This is off-season, they're not vacation people, they're not high population in town. It's our responsibility, and it's gone back to be a mess that quickly, and that really upsets me. That's why I said I don't want to be here, but I thought, doggone it, I'm going to say something. It's wrong. It's very wrong.
Thank you very much, and the town administrator will make sure it's taken care of. Thank you. I don't see any more hands. We'll continue. Mr. Clerk.
Westfield?
Mr. Haney. Westfield.
I see you sitting there, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. It's nice. You'll reach a certain age where it's just nice to be seen. Thank you for having me, or having us tonight. And hopefully we won't take up much of your time. But what I'd like to do in particular is, as you know, there was a meeting of the select board as well as some members of the committee. It wasn't a joint meeting publicly posted and the like, and that was in the middle of January. And since that time, we have met as a committee one time, and we've just got some concerns that we'd like to just air, hopefully get a reaction, and our goal is to amend the RFP in a way in which it can go out again in as short a period of time as possible. So, to that end, just so that you know where we've been so far, we will include phasing in the next RFP, but we've decided that it makes more sense not to put numbers there. The recommendation from the select board was, I think, 50 to 60. We don't want to preclude or turn off a developer who might say, you know, geez, if I could only build 70 in phase 1, I can make this work. Or I really need to have 40 in phase 1 to make it work. So we're going to leave that up to the developer, or at least that'll be our recommendation. But we are going to have language in there to make sure that the entire project gets built, although that'll be town council's hopefully responsibility to fine-tune that language. We'll also include the executive summary. But one of the things that you folks could do for us in your capacity as sewer commissioners is tie up a loose end about the sewer capacity and the pump station issue. And if you could take a formal action of some sort that either confirms our thinking, which is in the RFP, based on the sewer department's information that they sent to us early in the process. It was not vetted with the Board of Selectmen, but you are the sewer commissioners, and so if you could assure us that we need to upgrade the pump station or not, and we'll have that language in the RFP, or you could assure us that there is sewer capacity, and we'll keep that language in the RFP as well. And then we need some guidance. And the guidance has to do with two components. One is this tenant selection process. And I call it a process because when you go back to the town meeting debate that was going on, it talks about a lottery, and that's not in the RFP today. Anything to do with a lottery, it talks about the lottery assuring that 70% of the residents would be Wareham residents, and then it goes into phase 2, would include any people that weren't selected in the first round of this lottery, and then phase 3 and so forth. And so the clarification that we need has to do with, is there a lottery? And how well, it also states that the Wareham Housing Authority has to be involved if there is a lottery. And so, you know, is that what we want in this thing? And that would be helpful for obvious reasons. And the last component that we need some guidance on has to do with the fields and 40B. And I say that because as you listened to the debate, the proponent of the article talked about 40B, and he talked about the fields and so forth. And I know you folks had a lot of discussion about the fields, particularly the soccer field and the football field. And so in light of the discussion at town meeting, are the soccer field and football field in, or are they out? And that's a simple delete key for us, because right now they're in. So anything you could do to help guide us in this, and we can hopefully get it done, if not this week, by next week.
Any questions from the board?
Yes.
Mrs. Bigler.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Hi, Mr. Haney.
Hi.
I have a couple questions for you and maybe some information. I think that the tenant selection in the lottery, that it was by debate, it's not in the article. So that was kind of my point when we had the workshop, we are following the language of the article. There were two changes. One was that the word senior was added, and two, renovation of the existing fields. So I guess what I don't understand is why the original RFP that had 5 applicants doesn't go out with those two changes. Simple as that. And then the number 280 wasn't in the original RFP as well. So my question is this: why doesn't the original RFP go out with those two changes?
Well, let me see. For most of the RFP, it is the original RFP. It was edited for changes, for updates, and so forth. And it also included the 40B calculation of 280. It had a minimum, what went out was a minimum of 175, I think, and the language read something to the effect of we would give preference to a 280 unit facility. And the reason was, in the spirit of the town meeting debate, to try to hit the 40B number, which with the new census data came out to be 280. That was just the math. And we did also allow the developer to use the phasing process as well in the development. And so there's not a lot of deviation between this RFP and the previous RFP, but there are updates for time and there are clarifications. But we didn't rewrite the thing. We took the original and edited it.
All right, so the original RFP had the level of detail for the fields?
No, surprisingly, the fields were not included at all in the original RFP because it wasn't required by the vote.
Right.
In the original. It is required by the vote now.
But it's not to like build them. It's the existing fields. It's to renovate the existing fields is the language of the article.
It says rehabilitate, I believe.
Okay. Well, rehabilitate or renovate the existing fields.
It does. I don't even think it says existing fields. Hang on a minute. If I don't have it here. The language is, and further, that such leasehold interest shall be subject to initially rehabilitating the recreational facilities and maintain the recreational facilities during the term of the lease. And so it doesn't mention fields and it doesn't mention renovate. It does say rehabilitate. And when the proponent of the article was describing the athletic facilities, he was doing it in terms of 4 fields and a parking lot. And so we didn't put the parking lot in there, but we do have a lot of detailed information about the baseball fields only. And then I think there's 2 lines in there about the rest, the development of the soccer field and the football field. So that the detail that you see in that document is for the existing baseball fields. And what it does is it defines rehabilitation. Somebody's going to define the term rehabilitation, and we thought it best to be the town defining it as opposed to leaving it to the developer to define.
So how many fields exist at Westfield right now?
There are spaces for 4. There are 2.
Well, what existed? What was being used there?
Pardon me?
What was being baseball fields were used there at one time? Is that true?
There are 2 baseball fields there now.
Right, and that's what was used, not football or soccer, just baseball?
No, the language in the RFP about those fields is minimal language. Mm-hmm. When you look at...
Can you give us a page on that, Mr. Haney?
Pardon me?
Can you give us the page number you're looking at?
Page 9, which is section 5.1U, is 2 lines which talk about the on-site soccer field and football field, and it says, In addition, the developer shall construct and maintain an on-site soccer field and an on-site football field to the standards developed by a certified athletic field architect.
Construct and maintain, so that doesn't say anything about, that doesn't go with the language of the article, which is rehabilitate.
Well, no, those fields aren't developed yet.
That's my point, Mr. Haney. So the fields that exist there,
Mm-hmm.
it says rehabilitate. It doesn't say construct in the article.
Right.
So the soccer field and the football field, if they didn't exist prior, then we really, I mean, it's, they don't belong in the RFP.
Well, that's the guidance that we're seeking.
Right.
And if you're saying take that sentence out, we'll take the sentence out.
But if it doesn't conform to the article, then I'm not sure why that's in.
Well,
my other question,
it does conform to the way that the proponent described it.
I'm going by the language of the
Okay.
article, not the debate.
Okay.
So the language of the article also didn't define any kind of tenant selection other than senior. So that's the language of the article,
Mhm.
not the debate. The language of the article was specific to a senior population age 55 and over. Although I personally object to anybody considering 55 senior. And then leaving the number blank and having a phase project, I may agree with that because I think in this economic climate, starting with giving the proponent the option of going to 40 to 50, and then we can phase as we go along. But I discussed this at length and in detail during our workshop about going by the language of the article. There were 2 changes. Now, I'm also, as many people know, a member of the garden club. So gardening is near and dear to my heart. But that wasn't in the language of the article either. And was the whole garden and the garden shed and all that detailed language in the original RFP?
It wasn't the detail language in the original RFP, but there was language in there. What we did is we made it, we defined it better than what it was.
So there was a garden shed and that kind of thing in the original RFP?
I don't recall exactly what was. I have the original article.
Right. I don't believe it was in there. But I guess, so if someone wanted to have, say, a community garden with that particular population,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's something that they could certainly develop and define. And I just think that putting in so much detail and asking for every single possible thing in this economic climate, I mean, you can ask for a Cadillac, absolutely, and I think we should always shoot for a Rolls Royce.
Mhm.
But we could be detailing ourselves out of prospective bidders.
Well, I disagree with the part about detail. Whether we've got the right detail in there or not is a matter of discussion. But the more detail you can provide a developer, the less you rely on the developer defining things. And so, if you have a definition of rehabilitate which happens to be different than the developer's definition of rehabilitate, if that's the extent of the detail that's in there, it's going to be virtually impossible to figure out if what you got was what you wanted.
Well, Mr. Haney, when we send out an RFP, people respond,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have further discussions with the people that respond to define those details.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that sending out something that seems pretty closed may inhibit that conversation. So what I'm saying is we go by the language of the article, because we could all go back to all articles and then define all articles by debate. We're defining what we have to abide by is the language of the article, in my opinion.
Well, I hadn't really considered Mrs. Begley's opinion, but that really, if I was going to somebody and have them build me a car, and the salesman said, you know, this is going to have power windows, it's going to have a GPS in it, you're going to have nice heated seats, and I get the car and it's got power windows and AM radio, I'm not going to be too happy. Our former chairperson, I remember her specifically talking to us privately and here and at every meeting she attended and on town meeting floor, talking about this lottery because Wareham has a need. This was the whole point of this exercise. Wareham has a need. And Mrs. Donahue talked about that a great deal in great detail about this lottery. So I thought that was a great idea. I supported that. Well, I understand that, Mrs. Begley. I think I'm still talking. The second piece was the management, and she talked about working with our housing authority to place people that are on this list that we keep talking about. So now we're saying that we're not going to do these things? I think when you put out an RFP, you ask for the sky, you're not going to get it, but you fall somewhere in between. If you ask for the bottom, I mean, what do you got to negotiate? You're not going to get a developer to negotiate up. You're going to negotiate with them to some middle ground, some kind of consensus. So I think you asked for a lot. You know, I thought we had talked about the phasing piece, which gets us, which may help us to get more response. I mean, I don't know about football fields and soccer fields. I'm more interested in the development, Wareham residents, senior residents, getting a place in that facility, not excluding all that stuff, and then finding out that once we get it built, that we still have this list of 100 after, or more by then. I don't want to see that happen. So,
That's the clarification that we're looking for.
Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, first, Mr. Heaney, again, you know, I want to thank the committee for the work that they did. And although, you know, I'll be the first one to say that I think that your initial reaction as a committee in trying to get the most possible that you possibly could for the town is a good one. Where I differ with your logic is, in all of my experience in developing affordable housing, the more that we limit what the developers are allowed to, the more we limit the creativity of the developers by putting specific restrictions forward, we do limit our creativity. We would end up ultimately with, you know, proposals that were virtually the same. The great thing about the initial proposals was the fact that it was somewhat ambiguous. There was leeway for the developers to put together different financing mechanisms and different programmatic mechanisms. To put an RFP out there based on the language of the article doesn't prevent it actually enhances the process, in my opinion. And I think that was one of my issues in sitting in the Westfield committee meetings, was that we were getting too limited in the scope of what we were asking for. As far as, you know, the number of residents in Wareham, or senior residents in Wareham, that would benefit by a housing lottery will be determined based upon the programmatic requirements that are ultimately selected. So we would have the opportunity, as Selectman Bagley has stated previously, to look at the individual proposals as they come in, and hopefully they're all very different and very creative, to try and get the maximum number of units that we want, and to try and get, you know, the best rehabilitation of the fields that we can get, and to provide the largest number of affordable housing units for the senior citizens of Wareham. No one's going to go forward with the proposal unless, you know, the benefits to the town are substantial. And I think what my colleague was trying to communicate is the fact that the more we limit it, the more it's very simple. We restrict the creativity of the developers, because there are a number of different programs that they can draw from in order to put together something that would be acceptable to the town and meet the town's desires. You know, I think that from my standpoint, the biggest hurdles have been obviously the additional construction of the fields. I was always a little bit concerned about adding rehabilitation of the existing fields, but I think that that's something that town meeting certainly voted for. There's no question that the town meeting voted that those units were supposed to be specifically for elderly units, 55 years in age and older. All I think we're trying to do is put a proposal out there based on the vote of the town meeting, and hopefully we'll get similar proposals back that were. Those 5 proposals that we received the last time were very, very different. They were not at all similar, and I think that the reason for that is simply that the developers had the ability to be creative. So I don't think, you know, as we get into firmer discussions, once we do start to receive RFPs regarding the tenant selection process, you know, we still have to, we'll ultimately negotiate the land lease as well, and that's going to dictate a lot of the terms. I think, I don't think that the board actually, and certainly feel free to correct me if we did, I don't think that we came back with a specific recommendation that the first phase should be 50 or 60 units. I thought we said that the typical development of either or the average size of a typical tax credit property or Section 202 property, they're usually developed in 50 or 60 phases of 50 or 60 units. Mm-hmm. Right. That's my experience. You know, if they come back and they say they want to develop 100 units in the first phase, 50 units of tax credit, and 50 units of 202, I'd love that, because I think it would serve a broad income category, or serve a broad range of residents with diverse income backgrounds. So you know, I don't think that anyone here is being critical of the committee. I think that you did exactly what you were supposed to do, but I think that because of the lack of a response that we got, we're trying to give the developers a little more leeway to actually, you know, get this project off the ground for the town's senior citizens.
And we're all trying to do that, Mr. Schneider, and you know, there's not a huge, I'll say it again, there's not a huge difference between the original RFP and this one, but for updates and a little bit of specificity. It's easy enough to go back and look at the first red line version, but there's not a significant difference. For all intents and purposes, this is the original document.
Right, and again, Mr. Haney, I think that the issues come in with respect to the changes that were made, and you know, number one being the construction of, you know, new fields. I think that if we were to change the language based upon the article, I'd be more than happy to go back to the original RFP, add the language for the ball fields, and add the language that, you know, restricts the units to seniors 55 years in age and older, and putting it right back out there because we had those 5 great proposals.
Is that what the board wants? We can do that before the sun rises.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question on the phasing, because I think phasing is the only way to go up with it. Mm-hmm. But in your proposal, do you have anything with the ball fields included on what phase? Is that going to be left up to the contractor? Because it may be better to have it if they're doing it in 4th phase and on the 3rd one.
This entire proposal, the 2 that have gone out, both of them, let the developer to decide how the phases are done. They can put the ball fields in the beginning. They can put them at the end. They can build this 1 unit at a time in phases. There was absolutely no restriction on the phasing. It was entirely up to the developer.
So
and still is until we say we want it done in phases, because we've never said before that we want it done in phases, and this new document will now say We want it done in phases.
Okay, so you have the 280 or whatever and done in phases, so they'll not dictate, but they'll come up with a proposal to say 50, 75 or whatever.
One way to look at it is that we've got 280 in there. The other way to look at it is the minimum is 175, which is right square in the middle between the range that was put out in the first, in the 2 years ago that said between 150 and 200. So that 175 is the minimum threshold. And if you're thinking that we have to have 280, we don't. We have to have 175. 280 is the maximum, but it's not, you know, it's the ideal. It's what would get us to the 40B level that we wanted to be at. But the RFP does not say this has to be 280.
Like, I think going with the 175 minimum, you may have a jump start in having more contractors bid on it than you would on the 280.
But that's been in the two that
Right.
are gone out already.
Okay.
It's a range.
Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, I understand the range, and I think that it is an issue, although I did see Mr. Savageau had his hand up. Are you looking to comment, Mr. Savageau?
Switch. Thanks. Well, a few things. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Haney for his leadership. He's worked very hard for our committee, and he's put in an extraordinary amount of work. His tough job is that he has to he has to combine the thinking of all of us, and then come here and present that, and that's difficult for any chairman. So with that said, the issues that I've heard are phasing, sewer, lottery, fields, and 40B. On the issue of phasing, I think there's been some miscommunication that needs to be clarified. I would suggest to my committee and therefore to the board that we specify the entire 280 units in phases. However that comes about as far as the negotiations, the reason why is once we do that, and it's specified in that document, all 280 units count immediately towards our 40B housing number. Immediately. Whether it's in draft form, before the first nail is nailed, all 280 will count, and that's very advantageous to us on the 40B issue because we get ahead of the 40B, which was ultimately, as Mr. Haney explained, what the goal was as far as producing that number after the new census had come out. As far as sewer, we already have a letter, my understanding, from Mr. Campina that suggests that we have capacity for the 175. So if we're going to phase, we certainly have capacity, whatever that turns out to be, 50 or 60 units or so forth. We would just need another letter to clarify whether, you know, X number of years we would have capacity based on the full count. As far excuse me, as far as the lottery, Mr. Snyder's correct. That's not going to be a negotiable point for either the Board of Selectmen or the developer. That's determined by both DHCD policy as well as HUD 202 housing policy. They'll determine the lottery structure, and Mr. Holmes is correct that within those rules, body of rules, the Wareham Housing Authority is required to regulate that lottery. So those aren't really negotiable points, and they're not even necessarily need to be in the RFP because the developer will follow the law accordingly. As far as the fields, I tend to agree. Mr. Haney's right in the respect that we're walking a tightrope. We want to have as much input and contribution by the developer as possible to the municipality. However, if we don't draw RFPs, it doesn't matter what we wish for. We're getting nothing. So we need to make these RFPs as attractive as possible, and I would recommend to my committee, Thursday night I believe we're meeting, that we eliminate the language except for what is absolutely necessary within the language of the town meeting vote, which would be the two existing and whatever definition of renovation is or rehabilitation. So I would recommend to my committee and to the Board of Selectmen that we go with as close to the language as we possibly can to the original RFPs, which drew 5 bids. Notwithstanding the phasing, the additional phasing issue, and work together to make this happen, because this is vitally important to us as a community. This is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees and taxes and water and sewer, as well as providing a very valuable housing component to people that we want to keep in this community. They're consumers, and they contribute to the economy, and we don't want to lose them. Thanks.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Haney?
I guess all I'm concerned about is did we get our clarification? Mr. Savageau has mentioned, I believe, taking out all the detail. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I would recommend eliminating all language except for the 2 existing fields, and whatever the definition, as you stated, is for renovation and rehabilitation should be kept in the body of the article.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, the baseball field language stays. The football and soccer field language comes out. Okay. Is that the wish of the board?
Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Haney, is the baseball field language the language that discusses the specific things like Fenway Park seed?
The baseball field language is the detailed language. Because unlike the development, unlike the apartments, the baseball fields are for others that aren't paying rent, essentially, and that's what the town ends up with is the baseball field. And yes, it very clearly says in item T, 51T, it's the baseball field renovation. That's all it is.
And the standards came from where that you utilized for the renovation?
The standards were developed by an athletic field designer, an engineer.
Okay. Yeah, part of what my concern is I know that the developers that I've worked with wouldn't have any idea as to how to even approach something like a baseball field of the scope that is proposed in that article. It's just not something that they do, and again, I think by having specific language in that particular case, we're limiting our ability as to what they may come back with. We don't know, and if ultimately there's a certain standard that's not met by there's a certain standard that's not met when we review the RFPs, then that's something we could discuss. But I think calling out the detail on what the rehabilitation of the baseball fields is to that degree is not in the best interests of creativity as far as the fields goes.
It's not in the best interest of creativity by design. In baseball fields and soccer fields and football fields and any kind of athletic field that's ever been made has a certain design criteria that's developed for so that there's proper drainage, so that the grass recovers, so that the field is as safe as it can be for people to play on. Most fields that are developed by road contractors or developers that develop buildings and so forth, they don't have the expertise to develop a sound field that will drain properly and the like, which is why we told them how to do it. Basically, if you follow the directions, we'll have a good field. Now, if we want to leave that open for creativity, that's fine. Just, you know, we can end up with a road bed, because I've actually seen. I'm not being facetious. I've actually seen that done, and it doesn't work. So I'm not trying to defend what we've got as much as I'm trying to make sure you understand when you say let them be creative, what you could get. And that's okay. If that's what the board wants, that's what we're going to put in. I'm here for guidance.
And I certainly understand where you're coming from. And I guess what I'm saying to you is, from my standpoint, you know, giving them the availability to be creative is something that, you know, in my experience has worked well for the communities that, you know, I've done affordable housing in. And, you know, I would favor taking that language out and basing it more, you know, just simply on the language of the town meeting article. That's just my opinion.
Mr. Baker?
I have a question, because I was looking at some of the detail, Mr. Haney, on the baseball fields. I don't know anything about baseball fields, obviously, but is this the way, is this criteria, is this what's used for the baseball fields that exist that the gatemen use?
I haven't got a clue.
Because the level of detail here, I mean, there's one section here that says the field area shall be slice seeded using John Deere athletic seed mix or equal, using a rate of 7 pounds per thousand square feet. So I guess my question is this. If those baseball fields that the gatemen play on are, I assume that they are rehabbed routinely and maintained on a routine basis, I'm wondering if we're going beyond that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I do. I just don't know the answer to your question.
But I would be interested to find out, just to find out who maintains those fields, who renovates them when at the end of the season and that kind of thing. So we could kind of leave this open and discuss it with the people who maintain those fields.
Okay.
Can you tell me when, and it's Thursday, at what time and where for the Westfield?
6:30 in the multi-service center. The room way down the end on the left, where the finance committee meets. Same room.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
225. Okay.
Any other, if not, on the baseball field, I'm in line with what you're doing right now, because when you get a contractor in, that's why they have subcontractors. And you know that better than any one of us here. So they would come up, well, no matter what you have, they would come up and they would suggest, we can cut the price and still give you the field. But if you leave it like you have it, then we're in the driver's seat when they come in. So I think the way he has it right now, all contractors are going to have subcontractors because they're not efficient in everything. So, and that's where they do it, and it's least cost-effectively to them. So they can come in with a better price when they go subbing out.
Mr. Chairman.
So from
Mr. Chairman,
So,
the town is always in the driver's seat until we select a developer. I think that's from where I stand.
we are, if we have a developer. So far, we haven't had any. So when we do get them,
Right,
it would
so-
be. But we don't want to scare them off before they come, and we don't want to give them away everything. If we have it in there, you've been in construction a while, contractor is, and they will negotiate with you, whatever the price is.
Right, so from my standpoint, leaving it open for them to propose something and for us to come back with a discussion with them at some point is a worthwhile endeavor.
I don't think so, but we can, as far as I'm concerned. I've been in it just as long as you have, or maybe longer, but different sides of the fence.
So just before you move off the subject, what do we do? I mean, I've heard
I think
various opinions.
In my opinion, I think you wrote it up. We leave it as it is, and we go forward. And what they said about the articles, that's what it was in the article about the baseball fields and the tenant. Then we go
Okay.
by the articles. But
You know, is, I don't know. I've never built an affordable housing unit, but I've certainly negotiated many contracts, and I've always aimed high, ended up in the middle. The word rehab could mean, you know, there's a fence there now, and if you don't set some kind of standard to that terminology, you could end up, they'll come in, put some grass seed in, paint the fence, put some chairs, and says, hey, I rehabbed it for you. I just don't. I mean, it's up to the board, but I prefer to aim high and end up somewhere in the middle.
Well,
You can't go up. You're not going to negotiate up after they've responded.
Yeah.
Have them come in and say, here's what we responded to, here's our response, and then you say, well, you know what, we don't think rehab is good enough. We want this, right? So, I mean, the phasing piece, did you say that, through you to Mrs. Begley, did you say that number was 175 in that article?
No, there was no number, Mr.
I thought I heard somebody just
No,
say
I-
it was.
No.
I said it was
think Mr.
175.
Mr.
That was
Haney,
the
No,
original.
not in the article.
No,
Not
it's
in the
not in the
article.
article.
Meeting article, there was no
No.
number.
There's
right?
no number
No
in town
number.
meeting article, no.
So the 175, the 280, we kind of
Right.
We put
Correct.
that in. Yeah, that's our language. Okay, so,
So if I could just finish.
Oh.
So on the phasing, I would say, you know, there's no number. We had hoped for 280, but let them come back to whatever's available, by what programs are available. I still think that on the fields, rehabilitation, that we should set some sites there. We probably won't get it all, but at least we'll get more towards what we're asking for than not. And Mr. Campino, I saw him here. I can't see if he's still back there.
Yeah, he's there.
Guy, could you resurface those letters through you, Mr. Chairman?
yeah, in fact,
Could you resurface those letters to the group by Thursday, or is that it's easy enough?
okay, I got nervous. I thought you wanted them to put it on us right now.
No,
No.
no,
I asked
no,
that
no.
question, so
Take your time and make sure you give it to them. Right.
but if you're just going to look at the letter, I don't believe the pump station's in the letter, and would like that's come up as well, so we'd like that clarified as well.
yes? I think he's saying yes.
Yes to what?
He's going to send you the information.
So, Mr. Haney, did you want to answer on this tonight? Because I think we're all in agreement with the tenant selection, and to keep it with the article specifies. And the only other question is, I think a couple of us are saying, go with the baseball as you have, and then we'll work from there.
Baseball.
Baseball.
Fields. Right.
All right, so we'll just, we'll keep going with what we've got for the sewer thing, and hopefully you can just confirm it before, you won't get it before Thursday, will you?
He said yes. Mr. Campino's in the back of the room.
All right.
I didn't want to bring him up.
No, but you're the sewer commissioner.
We'll wait to see what he has to say. I think.
So we need a motion on that?
No, one second.
No.
Mr. Chair, I wonder if it's possible, I know it's Tuesday and you're meeting on Thursday night, but if there can be some communication with whoever maintains the fields that the gatemen use? I'm just curious.
Want us to do it?
Do you want me to do it? I'd be
Yeah,
happy to do so.
yeah.
Happy to do so. Thank you.
So is there a motion or no?
Motion to do what, Mr. Chairman?
To go along with, since it's in the town meeting warrant, or not the warrant, but the article, tenant selection, that's taken care of.
Okay.
We're gonna go with that. That's a lot, in the baseball field, we're gonna go as stated on the article. And we're gonna go whatever he has on the, RFP now, as is. For the
Yeah,
fields.
I think they got some opinions, and they're going to go back and meet on Thursday, and then they'll be back here next Tuesday.
And then you just bring it back and we'll,
That's why it's here
hash it out.
Tuesday night. I don't think we need to make a motion for it.
okay, that'll be good. We're in agreement, then.
Mr. Chair, just as a reminder, I don't believe there's a Board of Selectmen's meeting on the 14th,
No, the 21st.
so we'll be meeting on the 21st.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Well,
Mr. Clerk, consent agenda.
Okay. On the consent agenda, we have a bill for Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC, invoice 7225, dated January 20th, 2012, in the amount of $15,000. I make a motion that we pay the bill.
Motion made by Steve, second by Ellen. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
Attached to something else. We have the regular minutes from October the 4th, 2011. Make a motion that we accept them as written or
Second.
transcribed on January 9th, 2012.
Second.
Motion made by Steve, second by Mike. Question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 400.
Next, we have the minutes of January 10th, of our January 10th meeting, 2012. I make a motion that we approve the transcription date of January 11th, 2012.
Motion made by Steve, second by Ellen. Question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
And then we just had a great lengthy discussion, but we have the minutes from the January 14th workshop on Westfield. I make a motion that we accept them as transcribed on January 23rd, 2012. Excuse me.
Motion made by Steve,
Second.
second by Mike. Question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could we have these approved minutes sent to all the members on the Westfield RFP committee, please?
What was that again?
Have these approved minutes sent to all the members on the Westfield RFP committee?
Okay, taken
Thank you.
care of.
Approved. Workshop. To RFP. Okay, next up, Mr. Chairman, we have an interview for the Board of Assessors. Mr. Robert Bunstein, please come forward. Is it Steen or Stein? Sir? Stein. Yeah. Okay. I'll write that down.
Oh, he is? Okay, thank you.
Now you have to speak very, very close.
I'm Robert Bunstein, 13 Bayberry Road.
Okay, if you would, wouldn't mind, just tell the board a little bit about yourself and why you would want to fill this position on the Board of Assessors, please.
Be glad to.
Thank you.
I am a lifelong summer resident of Wareham and a year-round resident for the past 21 years. I'm retired from my own business. I was in steel construction for almost 60 years and dealt both with residential and commercial construction. I'm also a civil structural engineer by trade. And for the past 10 years, I have worked part-time for the assessor's office as a data collector or inspector of building permits. So I feel that I have the experience to help out, and with my experience that I had for the last 10 years with them, I'm quite knowledgeable of the situation. So I feel that I can contribute.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Mr.
Sure.
Mr. Bonstein, I wrote that down on the end. Just to clarify, you said you were a summer resident,
All my life, since I was a year old.
but now you're a permanent resident.
I have been
Is
for
that
21 years.
21 years, okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that now the work that you're doing with the assessors department now.
Well, I haven't worked since the last the calendar year or business year.
Oh, okay.
I only work, well, probably have worked 8 to 10 weeks a year for the past 10 years.
Oh.
When they have an opportunity to do some work for them and they find an extra dollar somewhere, that's when they call me.
Thank you very
Just
much.
one
I'm
quick
sorry.
comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Just one quick comment.
Go ahead.
And you do know that the position is only for a couple of
I
months?
understand, it's just to fill in until election. And for point of information, I have taken out papers to run for a 3-year term.
Thank you.
Okay. I was going to ask if Mr. Curry has any questions or want to elaborate on that, just so everybody in the audience will know what's going on with this appointment, as Mr. Snyder had remarked earlier.
Okay. Basically, how the appointing of the position works, well, we did have a vacancy on the board that occurred when one of our board members had resigned and retired and moved out of state. So we had resigned and went opening a vacancy. As to the general laws, we have notified the Board of Selectmen. And through the process, we had to post the position and then do interviews. And as it works, the Board of Assessors would vote and the Board of Selectmen would vote, and how we're basically the majority of the two boards for any applicants as the appointee for the term. As Mr. Bunstein had said, he knows that it's only now until election date, but it is an important position that to fill at this time, because right now we're having the abatement season for and the exemptions for the seniors and things. So we want to make sure this process, they only pay the taxes that they need to. When Mr. Bunstein had mentioned that he'd work with the board, usually in the triennial years and interim years, we have to do building permits, we have to do inspections. That's part of the new growth and also part of the abatement process. And that's what Mr. Bunstein has worked under the board as pretty much as a part-time when needed. But his knowledge of the community, the board feels, has been would be a good asset, and plus with his knowledge in the construction field and especially steel and commercial construction, would be a great asset going forward with the new development that's going on in town.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Holmes.
Oh. I have a question.
Okay, Mrs. Begley.
Do you have a question?
I did, but go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Curry, how many applicants did you interview?
When the job was, the position was posted, we had received 2 applicants for the position. The board reviewed the applicants to see who had the most experience in construction, knowledge of the community, and basic residential and commercial aspects.
Did you interview all the candidates?
We reviewed the applications for the candidates and selected the.
But you didn't interview them? Because I recall this gentleman would be the 3rd applicant that I saw for an application. Remember, another gentleman and a woman applied, but I don't recall ever seeing them scheduled for an interview here.
Well, for right now.
We got it from the office.
Go ahead, Mr. Holmes, go ahead.
I didn't know you were going to get into that. I would say time out then, and if we could excuse Mr. Bernstein.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Holmes.
Go ahead. Oh, Mr. Curry.
Oh, okay.
I didn't answer a question.
So my
I
question...
just wanted to make sure because we've done that.
Yes, I agree, and thank you. Thank you very much. Because I recall getting from the office, so this would be 3 applicants, a total of 3 applicants, and I don't recall this board interviewing, because we usually interview all applicants, and we didn't interview the other 2 candidates, and I'm just wondering what happened with that process.
Well, I'm not not sure about the third candidate. We were only presented with 2 applicants from the Selectmen's office that was presented to us for us to review and give our recommendation, and that's what we did. There was only 2 applicants that were presented to us for the 2 weeks that it was posted for. When we had a regular meeting after that, we reviewed the 2 applicants and were told to present a recommendation of who we would like, and then come before the selectmen here for that interview process on the selection.
Just one more. So it's not customary for you to interview as well as review the applications?
Well, basically, this is probably the first time that we've
Right.
had a vacancy.
Yes, I understand.
Do it, so.
I understand. So right now you don't have a quorum, is that correct?
We have 3 members present. Mr. Macri's, our other member is under the weather again. So that's why we felt it was imperative to fill the term now till the election to make sure that we can have a quorum to continue forward with the process that we need to for abatements, exemptions, and such.
I just think it's unfair not to interview all the applicants. That's,
Mr. Holmes? Okay, good. If you're not going to say
Oh, I'm
something.
sorry. No,
No.
I was just going to ask Steve through you, because has something changed? Because I seem to recall when this first came up, and we didn't need anybody because the quorum was covered.
You say the question again.
Oh, I'm sorry. When this came up, well, I want to say it's probably a month or so ago. I was a little surprised to see it, but it is what it is. But I thought that when we had that discussion that night, that you were okay on a quorum. Did something change?
When we had the original discussion, I think Ms. Bagley had asked, are we having trouble with the quorum? And I said, no, we have the 4 members that are meeting at the regular meetings.
Right.
But we're still required by law to post a position for an appointment.
Okay.
That's why we had notified the board on November 10th
Right.
that there is a vacancy and it need to be posted. But the posting can only go through the Board of Selectmen for that position. And that wasn't posted until, I want to say, the middle of January is when the posting was done. And then I had to wait the 2 weeks. And then after the 2 weeks of the posting, we received the applications. And the application sent down by the selectmen was to review the applicants provided and make a recommendation. We did that, we sent it back up to the selectman's office, and when I was told it was distributed to the Board of Selectmen, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And now, I spoke with Mr. Cruz, he asked about, do we need the appointment now, or should we wait to the election? And I basically explained, well, we have the 3 members, one, his health is up and down, so to make sure that we do maintain the quorum to do the work that we need to do, we should have the appointment. And we did explain to Mr. Bunstein that it's only till the election, and he says, well, that's fine. I'd like to take out papers and run. I've been interested for a while, and he informed me tonight that he has taken out papers to run to fill the vacancy that's there.
I seem to recall. I think I saw.
Go ahead, you still have the floor.
I seem to recall this happening about. It was just before I got on the board with the housing authority. We had to fill a slot on the housing authority. It was a very short term. I think it was a matter of 6 or 8 weeks, and that lady serves on there now. But the issue was the quorum. I was just wondering if something had changed, because in my mind, after that night, Mrs. Begley asked those questions, I didn't think this was an issue. So when I saw it, I was a little, I thought maybe something else had happened. So.
The only thing that's just changed is, like I say, the 4th member, Mr. Macri's being 92. His health is up and down. Sometimes we know we can make the meeting, other times we can't.
Yeah.
And just in case if some one of the members or myself has to go in business, we want to make sure that the work can still get done for the abatements and exemptions.
Okay, now that is elected a position. Elections are in April. Correct. So this position is only for 2 months, or a month and some odd days. and it's imperative that you need to have someone on now to cover.
Well, we'd like to make sure that the quorum is met. Like you say, now the tax bills have gone out and the abatement season has started. That also includes the exemptions for the seniors, the elderly, the blind, the veterans, that needs a quorum signature and vote to make sure that they get the exemptions off on their taxes. So we want to make sure that everyone gets their exemptions, so it eases the burden on their pocketbook.
And just will let everybody know, there are more than one positions open on that assessors board for this coming election.
Correct.
So if anybody wants to run for that position, they can go ahead and put it in.
Correct. Currently, the way the term ends now, there's 2 3-year positions open as part of the regular election, and the vacancy to be filled would be for a 1-year term to put it back into that 3-year cycle.
Okay, that would be for this one, for the appointment now that you're looking for. The 1 year.
Correct. One of the
Okay.
appointed now would be, come election time, would be for a 1-year term.
Okay, Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, just a procedure question. So the document we have right here is all blank. Has your board already voted on this, Mr. Curry, and signed off on this? Do we have a second document here? Did you guys?
I'm not sure which document.
Did the board? I have the town of, the signature page to appoint someone, and the two boards have to vote, right? So you have the Board of Assessors on the left, the Board of Selectmen on the right, and then the town clerk at the bottom. Okay. Has your board has already voted on this?
Yes, we reviewed the applicants, like I had mentioned.
Right.
Chose the one that would, had the most qualifications for the position.
And you already signed off on this? The Board of Assessors is done
Well, we
with this?
forwarded to you, and I guess this was the next process to do the vote. And then
All right.
I guess once the vote is fully taken, then both boards would sign the appointment sheet.
I'm just, it's a,
Well, this is the first time that we've ever had this type of vacancy, so I'm not sure what the after policies would be.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I guess I'm at a loss as to being able to really make the determination myself right at the moment based on one applicant's, what I have here as credentials and what he stated. And, certainly no disrespect to the gentleman, but from my standpoint, if someone puts in an application for a position, they deserve the courtesy of being interviewed for the position. And, and if not, if that's not going to occur at the Board of Assessors level, I think that it has to occur here at the Board of Selectmen's level, because it is, are we going to now adopt a policy where we're not going to interview candidates? We're going to just, determine their qualifications based on their applications? I'm certainly not comfortable with that. I haven't spoke to the other people that have applied, and I certainly would like to.
Well, right now, like I said, if it's important that he needs it, this is only going to be for 2 months. I know we have the procedure going, and this has been, as you said, has been before us. It has been, you said it has been, has come before the board. So we're all dragging our feet right now to have something. If we do it on our next one, it'll be on the 21st, so that'll be March. So someone's only going to be in there for 1 month. This fella's going to be in there for 2 months, or whoever we vote on now. At least Mr. Curry can continue with his process of work and try to get things done until the other person comes in. Now, will that hold up anything? That's what I was asking you. Could you wait until the election?
We probably could.
But will that-
If someone were to miss a meeting, then we don't have a quorum for that meeting.
And will that-
Pushed off 2 weeks.
Will that disturb your work efforts in getting things out?
It could in the long run, if someone does happen to get sick and we can't meet the quorum. State law requires that we have to act on abatements within 90 days of the application. After that is deemed denied, then from there they go to the appellate tax board. So basically, that would also hold up any type of seniors or veterans getting their exemptions, so they have to pretty much pay the full taxes and wait for their abatement check or refund after the fact.
So when does the abatement have, do you have a deadline for the abatement to be in?
All applications for abatements have already been processed.
Okay.
The tax bills went out January 1st. The application for abatements on real estate taxes had to be in by February 1st, and we have 90 days to act on those applications. The veterans and exemptions have a different time frame, but usually they're processed before the fourth quarter bill, so if there's any exemptions that they're allowed, which could be from $175 to $500 off their taxes, we like to process that, so the seniors and the veterans don't have to pay that at all.
And you just said 90 days is February 1st, so you still have time until May then, right?
On the real estate,
Right.
not on the exemptions.
On the exemption is,
That'll be your veterans exemptions, the blind.
and what's the
seniors,
date on that?
widowers.
What's the time frame?
Correct.
The time frame is what, on the veterans?
The application to process that, their application has already gone by, but usually it's been a history of the board to process as soon as possible, so if they're entitled to that exemption, then they get their $500 or $175, and it saves them not having to pay that portion of the tax. So basically, that's a saving to the seniors and the people who apply for it.
Okay. Mr. Town
Mr.
Administrator.
Chairman, if I could, through you to Mr. Curry, would you say that what percentage of those exemptions, because if you're blind, you're blind, if you're a veteran, you're a veteran, so that's really standard operating procedure, you have to May 1st to get those completed, is that correct?
To get completed, but then those people would have to pay that extra money out of their pocket.
I'm not
And wait for a couple of months to get the check back from the.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying that the regular order of business with the board's activity would mean that, I mean, you know, my mom was legally blind, and she was a diabetic, and I knew that that form was due by a certain date. I brought it to town hall. It got processed. It's pretty much a standard operating procedure. I'm sure there are other people who come onto the rolls, but what percentage do you think of individuals that would be new to this process?
On the veterans, blinds, not many, but the seniors, widowers, spouses with independent children.
Sure.
That changes every year. That could fluctuate 50 combined, 50 applications. You might lose, I hate to say lose a senior one year, but you get somebody passes.
No, I understand.
Somebody grows older and fills in the spot. So it's
Right. But it's not like we're waiting for this slew of applications to come through the process. Most people have applied in the past, and they're going to come back through that portal to submit their application and receive some form of consideration. Is that fair?
correct. I think right now we probably have well over 500 of those applications.
Okay.
So they need to be processed.
So 450 or so are pretty much standard operating procedure. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to be perfectly clear here, because this discussion is not, we've been working hard at this over a year on boards and commissions. This is not one of our boards and
Regular.
commissions. I want to be very clear to people that when people apply for a board and a commission, they get interviewed here on the third Tuesday of every month. This is not that situation. This is an elected position that became available. So I don't want anybody thinking that we took applications and didn't feel like interviewing people for a board or commission. I know that they fill out the same form, but this is for a totally different, that's why we're talking about it on February 7th instead of February 21st, because somebody put it on the agenda for tonight. I didn't do it.
Well,
So as the
I was the one to put it on because it
Well,
seemed like it was important for
I just want
the
to be clear.
assessor's office to keep moving, and we need to keep them moving.
I just want to be clear that I usually manage this piece, and it's every third. I mean, we had one person come in last month who had just put the application in and had never been to a meeting. We bring them in the third Tuesday of every month for our normal boards and commissions. This is different. It's not the same. So I just want to make sure that people don't know. People realize that it's not the Board of Selectmen that didn't interview somebody in this process, because this is not our night for interviews.
Mr. Begley?
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Holmes. I guess my question is, what happened to the other two applicants, and why were they not scheduled for an interview? I distinctly remember seeing those applications come through from our office to this board.
This is 2 applicants.
I distinctly remember 2 others. It was a woman and a man.
I don't know.
Well, whatever happened, we need to act on. We need to act on something. Do I have a motion? If not, I'd like like to see a motion to at least put this applicant in for the 2 months that we have left. And if there was 3, as Mrs. Begley claims there is, I hope those other 2 would put their application into for the election that's coming up in April.
Well, I'll make a motion to appoint Robert Bunstein, 13 Bayberry Road, Wareham, Mass., to the Board of Assessors to a term to expire April 3rd, I believe, 2012.
Motion made. I'll second it out of necessity. Questions? Any more?
For discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You know, I disagree with Selectman Holmes. This to me is an issue with respect to appointments in the charter, and it's an issue that I've had, from the beginning, that we're not doing things consistently. And the charter is pretty consistent in what it says as far as notices of vacancies, and I'd like to read it, if you wouldn't mind. Section 7-8 of the charter says, notice of vacancies. Whenever a vacancy occurs or is about to occur in any town office, including membership on any multiple member body or town employment, except for positions covered under the state civil service law or otherwise provided for under a collective bargaining agreement, the appointment authority shall forthwith cause public notice of such vacancy or impending vacancy to be posted on the town bulletin board, and shall give such further public notice as may be provided by law. Any person who desires to be considered for appointment to the said office or employment may, within 10 days following the date notice was posted, file with the appointing authority a statement setting forth in clear and specific terms his qualifications for the office of the employment. No permanent appointment to fill a vacancy in a town office or in town employment shall be effective until at least 14 days have elapsed following such a posting, and until all persons have filed statements shall have been considered. I read that to include all of the committees of the town, boards, commissions, any appointments that this body is required to appoint. In fact, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that any of the appointments that this board has done have been consistent with the charter, and this is why I think that, I've been so adamant that we sit down in here and discuss a policy regarding appointments. And I'm certainly not willing to violate the charter. And I don't know that all of these conditions have been met, and I don't know that all of these people that have applied for this position have been duly considered.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you're saying that you've been on this board a whole year. It took you a year to bring it up. Right now, we're in a predicament where we need someone. There was a motion on the floor. Any other questions? No other question. We'll take a vote. All in favor? Aye. 2. All opposed?
No.
Okay. It's a new point. It lies there. Thank you. What? No, motion's lost. It's a 2-2.
Well,
Yes.
the nominating for the position according to law 41-4 is a combination of the votes of the Board of Assessors and the Board of Selectmen. And the majority of that vote, if it's in the favorable, is appointed. If it's in the negative, is not appointed. The Board of Assessors at our meeting voted 3-0-0 to appoint Mr. Bunstein or recommend Mr. Bunstein. Having spoken with Mr. Macris, we sent him the information of the 2 applicants that were sent down to us. And verbally, he was in favor of Mr. Bunstein as well, having known the work that he's done with the board. So if you're not counting Mr. Macris' vote because he was not present at the board, that would make the vote 5 in favor of Mr. Bunstein, 2 in the negative, which I believe carries the majority. So
I'd like to have town council
Right. Would you want to?
opinion on that, please.
Yeah. Would you want to repeat that again so everyone will know? Right.
Town council is the one that told me the law on that, chapter 41-4. So.
I'd like written opinion, thank you.
Okay. As of right now, then, what we'll do is we'll have town council look at it. We know what the vote of the board is right here now. If it is as you say, town council will be notified in the morning. He'll come back with an answer, and if it's as you say, then your man's on. If it isn't, then we'll go to 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. And if you could find out where that third applicant was, we were only sent down 2 from your office. I'm not sure where the third party was. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
Board members?
Okay, we received an email from the folks at the Blue Dog. That case is in litigation, so
You have it?
we'll put that off. Next, we have an application for a new license. Mr. Grasso? Renewal? The agenda says new license, but your application says is it renewal?
No,
It's a new license, okay.
no, it's not a new license. It's renewal. It was just put in late.
Oh, another calendar person. Well, if you would just take your 2-minute advertisement here on Tuesday night, tell us who you are,
My name's Anthony.
where it's located, et cetera, et cetera.
It's Anthony Grosso. My residential address is 5 Toplin Way, Wareham, Mass. My business address is 24 Sandwich Road, Commodore Motors. And I've been there approximately 5 years. Very small. You never know it's there.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
Yes. Roped in.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Mr. Holmes?
I make a motion that we approve the application for Mr. Anthony L. Grasso, do business as Commodore Motor Enterprises, 24 Sandwich Road, Wareham, under the provisions of Chapter 140, Mass General Law.
Motion made by Steve,
Second.
second by Mike. Question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 4-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Mr. Grasso. Next is the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, yes. If I could ask Chief Stanley and his team of state accreditation experts to come up. Mr. Chairman, just so that I just give a little perspective, well over, I'd say 2 years ago, a process began here in Wareham that many may not know about. I want to make sure that everybody knows about it because we are in the top 45 cities and towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that have attained state full accreditation of our police department. And I just want to just describe quickly and ask the chief and Bill Philman to weigh in that this really means that we've spent the time and energy and effort to identify and write policies and procedures that reduce our liability, provide our workforce in the police department with professional development, provides the growth opportunities in the police department, positions the town better for application for federal and state and other types of grants. And I want to say that, as I said in my report, Mr. Chairman, we've made history. On January 26th, Chief Richard Stanley joined the Board of Selectmen, Carol Winslow and Michael Schneider, Lieutenant John Walsack, Lieutenant Kevin Walsh, and Officer Bill Philman, who was the keeper of the records. And I just want to make certain that you understand my feeling about this because in many other communities, they had really worked very hard. We were joined with an elite group that morning. But I want to say that Bill Philman has exceeded all of the expectations that I had for work on this prestigious certification last year back in Hopkinton, and now full accreditation. And I was proud to be in the company of other town administrators and town managers that squarely set this as one of their top priorities for their towns, for their municipal operations in the area of public safety. And we are now in that elite, and I was very proud to be at that ceremony at the Andover Country Club, to be a participant in making history in Wareham. Chief Stanley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Andrews. Mike and Kara isn't here tonight. Appreciate you also making the trek up there to Andover for the ceremony.
It was a privilege, Chief.
And I know illness kept a couple of others away. In August '09, when I was appointed as part-time police chief here in Wareham 2.5 years ago, I told the Board of Selectmen then that the Wareham Police Department would in fact be put on the map, that we would in fact be considered the best of the best, and that after these 2 years of extremely hard work on the part of many people, we made it. 1 year ago, as the administrator just pointed out, we were certified, and this year accredited. We're not slowing down. We have a couple other things on the trail right now. For instance, no one in the area is Massachusetts Emergency Management certified. We are going to be a MEMA certified agency. I will be before you sometime this spring to talk about that. In addition to that, we have our first meeting next week of a 5-year strategic plan, the roadmap to the future, which will in fact use this, the accreditation, as a foundation as we move this organization forward and make it ready to really make its mark in law enforcement, certainly in Southeast Massachusetts. But the main reason, a lot of people have read articles about accreditation and so forth, but the main reason I wanted to come forward tonight, I told the administrator, was that this is a prestigious award, that it is something that is well earned, and it certainly is teamwork, not on the part only of the unions, the staff, civilian and the volunteers of the police department, but the Board of Selectmen, town administrator. Out of 351 cities and towns which have municipal police department, only 29 are accredited. There are only 2 in Plymouth County. So that's out of 351, only 29 accredited. I feel strongly that this award, somebody needs some recognition here, and it's the guy sitting to my left. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is he made this very easy for me. Bill Philman has an expertise in quality assurance and so forth. He stepped forward and took on this as a project. I set goals. I set time frames. And I think everyone who knows me knows that if I'm good at one thing, it's at relentless follow-up. I continuously worked with the team working on it, but Bill was the captain of the ship. I have a presentation for Bill Philman tonight, and it reads, presented to William H. Philman, in recognition of your professionalism, devotion, and commitment in achieving the Certificate of Accreditation for the Wareham Police Department by the Massachusetts Accreditation Commission, January 26, 2012. Bill, well earned. Now, if I can, I'd like you to read the accreditation and say a few words.
Well, the chief is the best of the best, and obviously he hacked into my computer and stole all my notes. I would like to just add that this was definitely not an individual effort, it was a team effort. It involved the Board of Selectmen, town administrator, all the members of the Wareham Police Department, and our citizen volunteers, who we have a couple sitting here in the audience with me, Midge Coster and Janet Jones, were a big part of this. The Board of Selectmen played a very big role in this because they're part of the process of getting these policies and procedures approved in the approval process. And I would bombard them on a regular basis with sometimes 3 or 4 policies, sometimes 6 or 8. Some of these are only 3 or 4 pages, some are like 25 or 30 pages. So they really stepped up to the plate and helped this process along. And also by actually being part of this process, by attending the assessments themselves. We went through 2 assessments with state trained assessors, and they came to the station as we were being assessed. They've been at the award ceremonies, and you folks really deserve a lot of credit for being part of the process. Although we had a lot of policies in place when we started this process, A lot of them hadn't been reviewed or looked at in over 20 years. Right now we have approximately 70 new or updated policies and procedures for the police department that are all acceptable law enforcement standards that are recognized by the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission. And these standards are not only recognized by the Massachusetts accreditation, these are all based on CALIA standards, which are nationwide standards. And they've just been tweaked a little bit for Massachusetts, the way we do business. A lot of these standards came from these policies that we revised, rewrote, and modified. But they also looked at the station itself. And in spite of being an old station, the chief has done a lot to bring it up to par to meet these standards. When the assessors come in, they don't just look at our documentation. They look at the station. They look at our holding facility, also known as the jail cells. They look at the cruisers. They pop the trunk on the cruisers, and they look to see what we have in there. Defibrillators. They see if they work. They actually turn them on. First aid kits. Rescue rings that we throw into the water if we have an emergency, such as that. The radars that we have to be calibrated on a regular basis. They check the calibration records on those. So it's not just the paperwork, it's also the infrastructure of the station. But I really would like to say that this is definitely a team effort. The members of the Wareham Police Department that these policies affect the most, the sergeants and the men and women in patrol, and the communications folks who actually, they run this department when there's an emergency out there. When that 911 phone rings, and it's a very distinctive ring, when you hear that phone ring, everybody's ears perk up, and you know there's something going on. And that's when all of these policies and procedures start to kick in, because everything we do has a policy and a procedure to it. We have to do it the right way, or we're not doing it the right way if we don't follow these policies. Whether it be a medical call, a motor vehicle accident, a neighborhood dispute, we have a policy for every one of them and how we're supposed to handle it. And I just want to thank all the members of the department, the patrol force, the communications folks, and I probably shouldn't try to do this, but there's a couple of people I really want to recognize, and that would be Cassandra Cassidy, the chief's administrative assistant, and Sergeant Glenn Gifford, who was a training officer, firearms instructor, armorer, you name it. He wears a lot of hats in that department. And these are the folks that an accreditation manager relies on for this documentation and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. As the chief said, he is very goal-oriented, and he sets the bar very high. We had a meeting with MEMA representatives a couple of weeks ago, and before the session even started, he said, what do we have to do as a department to be the best of the best in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? That's just an indication of setting the bar high and setting those goals very high. And as far as being put on the map, a good example is one day last week, I got a phone call from the Somerville Police Department up near Boston. And there was a lieutenant who was new to the job of being an accreditation manager. He was formerly on patrol operations. And he found our name by Googling it and found out that we were accredited. And he asked if he could come down and get some expertise from us on how to get certified and accredited in the whole process. So we're on the map. We've started to make people recognize us as being the best of the best. So I got to congratulate the chief for that and for giving me a nice part-time job. And with that said, I'd like to read this award that we got. I'll put it here in front of the mic so you can all hear me. Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission Be it hereby known that the Wareham Police Department, having fully demonstrated its commitment to police excellence by living up to a body of progressive standards to ensure that the delivery of police services within the Commonwealth is at the highest level of professionalism and integrity, and having reflected the best professional practices in each area of police management, administration, operations, and support services, is hereby recognized as an accredited police agency for a period of 3 years upon the recommendation of the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission, and awarded this certificate of accreditation on this 26th day of January 2012.
Congratulations, Bill. Congratulations. Bill, bring it on up. Bill, bring it up. Chief, come up. Bill, superb job. Great job. And if I could just also say, I know Chairman Cruz is under the weather, as well as Selectwoman Begley. Chief, thank you for that. Two quick items, if I could, just add to it. Where are you going? Mr. Chairman, I just also want to mention two things real quick. We've already got a call from our insurance company that said our insurance policy is going to go down because of this action. And Chief, where are you going, Chief? Come back here. You're not done yet. Hold on a second. And we've worked over the past several weeks after seeing the excitement in that room at the Andover Country Club. Mr. Philman's going to be on assignment to the administration, working on other policies and procedures in other departments to get the best of the best going. And I want to thank you for that. And it's just a starting point, because what I heard from other accredited agencies is that you now have to keep it up. You have to keep working to stay up to that standard. So with that, I tip my hat to you. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I could move on with my report. I've asked John Charbonneau, given that we are working with departments, to come before the board and update the board, and our planner is here. Mr. Charbonneau.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to update the Board of Selectmen on a few recent developments. Sorry. The first is the Walmart project. On January 27th, myself, Town Council Mark Bobrowski, the engineering traffic peer reviewer for the boards, Vanas Associates, the traffic engineers for Walmart, met at Mass Highway District 5 with their representatives. And the intersection improvements at Toby Road and Route 28 are at a level that are acceptable to the peer reviewer for the boards, Vanas, the Walmart engineers, and Mass Highway District 5. Although the Mass Highway can't formally commit to a design until the local permitting is done, they agreed that on a conceptual level, the improvements to the intersection meet all of their standards. So we're very pleased about that, and anticipate that the process with Walmart is going to most likely come to a conclusion here in the next couple of months. They're appearing before the Conservation Commission tomorrow night to hopefully, next week. They're appearing before the Conservation Commission to hopefully get their blessing. And so there aren't many issues remaining. I believe the one remaining issue will be their sewer connection and how they're going to handle that. So, like I said, the process is moving forward. The next meeting is scheduled for February 16th at 7 p.m. in the downstairs auditorium of Town Hall. And at that time, they will discuss traffic issues and also the results of the Conservation Commission meeting that they're attending. The second thing I wanted to mention is Mr. Andrews mentioned at a recent leadership team meeting that the senior work program has come up and the future of the senior work program. And I just wanted to mention to the Board of Selectmen that the planning department has utilized that program and that we found it very useful, especially without a town planner for some time before Mr. Andrews brought myself on board, that program has been very useful. Wilma Angerman has come in and done filing in the past, and we hope to continue using that program because it's helped us out tremendously. I know Brenda and Kelly have been very thankful to have Wilma come in and work on updating our filing system and make it more streamlined and clean it up, so that's been great. And the third thing I want to mention to the board is the fact that one of the charges that was given to me when I was hired by Mr. Andrews was the rectification of the 53G accounts and performance bond accounts for existing projects and completed projects. It took a little while to get going with that because of the audit. We were told to hold off on the release of any funding until the audit got further along in the process. Now that it is, in the recent last 2-3 months, we have gotten permission to start releasing funding. In the last couple of months, we've actually been able to clear about $46,000 off the town books in releasing performance bond and 53G money on projects that have been done for approximately 20 years in some cases. So it's nice that we're starting to see some money come off the town books, because that's never a good thing to have money just sitting on the books with no end in sight. So we're going to continue working on those issues and get the money that needs to be released in a timely manner.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt Mr. Charbonneau, but John, could you just explain for the folks at home exactly what a 53G account is?
Well, there are two different types of accounts that we track in the planning department. One is called performance bonds. Those are most often associated with residential subdivisions, and performance bond accounts are bonds that are held by the town as surety to make sure that certain things are in place in a given project. For instance, with a residential subdivision, the planning board will normally hold a performance bond for the paving and installation of infrastructure such as curbing, sidewalks, things of that nature, finished paving of the roadway to make sure that the subdivision roadway and the related infrastructure, drainage, in a lot of cases, is installed properly and to town standards. The second type of fund is called a 53G account. And for instance, with the Walmart project, a 53G account is an account that's maintained by the planning board, and the applicant of a specific project, for example, Walmart, will contribute to this account. And it's for the boards, the reviewing boards, to be able to hire consultants to review certain aspects of a project on the town's behalf, an independent consultant, because a project like Walmart, they will bring in their own engineers, traffic engineers, architects, overall civil engineers to look at drainage, and they'll present their viewpoint, but the boards don't have the expertise to be able to tell whether or not the information that's provided by the applicant is valid or not, if it's accurate, or if it's going to work or be safe for the town. So they have the ability at the applicant's expense to bring in a consultant, a traffic consultant. We have a few different consultants on the Walmart project. We have a traffic peer reviewer. We have an overall peer reviewer, and we have Mark Bobrowski working as a legal peer reviewer to actually negotiate the mitigation for that project, and the applicant provides those funds. Whatever is left over in those funds when the project is complete gets returned to the applicant. So it really serves no purpose to have these funds sitting on the town's books. It certainly serves no positive purpose for the town to have this money sitting on the books for a long period of time.
So, John, just to make it absolutely crystal clear, the taxpayer is not paying. It's the
Correct.
developer.
The applicant provides the
is
funding,
paying, which is, I think, what Selectman Steiner's
and if the
hitting upon.
if the applicant refuses to provide additional funding sufficient enough to satisfy the board's review requirements, that is a basis for denial of the project. So I know there was some question as the for instance, the Bog Wind project went forward. The fact that the ZBA allowed Mr. Berkowitz, the applicant in that case, to provide 53G funds in increments. There was some concern that that was putting the boards in the town in a weak position, but it was not, because we had an approved scope of work for a certain amount of money, and by allowing him to pay it in increments did not put the town in a weak position, because if he refused to live up to that approved scope of services, that is legal grounds for denial of the project by the reviewing board. So the town was not in a weaker position by taking that tactic. Okay.
just a couple of questions to clarify. It's great that you took this on as a project with the 53G accounts. However, I mean, as you know, there's also an issue by prematurely
Correct.
refunding that money. And I
Correct.
think that the town has seen that happen a couple of
Correct.
times with various developers.
Correct.
Just to go back, and you discussed the January 27th with Mass Highway and Town Council with
Correct.
the traffic patterns. Is it premature to ask the question if some of the abutting communities that had some issues about the traffic, have those needs been addressed, or will those be addressed at the future zoning?
Well, what happens
Meeting.
is the abutting towns are made aware when...
No. Abutting senior community.
Oh, absolutely. I know this has been a concern. We've the representatives of establishments such as Great Hill Estates, they've maintained a presence at at each public hearing as it's gone along, and they will continue to have a presence at those meetings. And certainly at every single public hearing, the two chair people, Mr. Barrett and Mr. Ferreira, have given ample opportunity for the public to get up and speak at every single public hearing, and they have not been limited as far as this time goes.
My question is, were there concerns addressed during that January 27th meeting that you
Yes, absolutely.
referred
They
to?
were brought up. Absolutely, they were brought up to Mass Highway District 5 that we have concerns from Great Hill Estates.
Okay, and how about any issues or concerns that the Bike Path Committee had?
Absolutely, that was brought up as well, and that's actually Mass Highway has a fairly recent directive that they have entitled the Complete Streets Program, where traditionally when a roadway project or improvement is proposed, the road is designed from the center line going out to the shoulders. This new Complete Streets Program, it forces developers to design the project from the shoulders going in towards the center line, and that is the exact purpose, to make sure that bicyclists and pedestrians get the proper attention and get the proper facilities. Therefore, by Mass Highway saying that these improvements meet their guidelines, it means it meets their Complete Streets guidelines, which is very strict, and it takes into consideration cyclists and pedestrians first. So absolutely, it takes that into consideration. They have to make sure that they have the shoulder and the provisions in that intersection before they even design the actual roadway. The shoulders are taken care of to accommodate
Okay, so those
that.
two issues were addressed on that January 27th
Absolutely, yes,
meeting.
they
Thank
were.
you very much.
You're welcome.
Just a point of information, John. So, in your role, is it part of your function to kind of negotiate a formal mitigation agreement? Are there formal mitigation agreements in cases like Walmart?
Yes. Whenever there's a decision on any project, whether it's an 80 Makepeace project, whether it's Walmart, whether it's a residential subdivision, there are always various conditions of approval depending on the project, depending on the circumstances surrounding that project, and they could be things as basic as hours of construction during construction. If a commercial project is near a residential area, there will be limitations on hours of construction and potentially operation to be sensitive to those residential abutters. And they can be as specific as, for instance, traffic mitigation. Any traffic mitigation that's going to be done as part of this project is going to be in that decision. So it will encompass everything from the basic to the very complex.
So, just so I'm clear on this, though, is it the mitigation agreement would constitute what? Would it be a separate document, or is it through?
No, it would be
CBA?
as part of the overall decision, Mike. It would
the
be
CBA.
it would be included as conditions of approval. And what was discussed, one of the things with District 5 is the fact that because until they get a formal submission, once the local permitting is in place, that's when Walmart would submit their 25% design proposal for review by Mass Highway. The approval, the decision, any potential approval would include a provision that would protect the town, because Mass Highway District 5 can only comment on the concept. Once a formal submission is made with the 25% design, there may be some changes made, and so the decision has to be made flexible enough to accommodate that, and there would be provisions that Walmart would have to come back and potentially reopen the public hearing to discuss any changes to that intersection. So it wouldn't be the last bite at the apple for the town or any abutters after the decision is made. If there are any changes post approval, then there would be language in there that would protect the town and give the town the right to review and look at any changes subsequently thereafter.
Thank you for that very clear explanation, John.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, John, thank you.
Hang on one second, please. Can I get mine? Through you, Mr. Chairman. John?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
What's your current status now? Are you here full-time yet?
Still part-time.
30-20? 30?
60-40. 3 days a week, Wareham, 2 days, Rochester.
You know, given everything that's going on in between Walmart, you heard I think you were here at 7. You heard our discussion of Westfield.
Yes.
You know, the whole economic development issue. You know, I'm a supporter of 40 hours, right? So I'll keep pushing, brother, and see if we can't get that done with everything that's going on. You know, I just think it's unfortunate that we don't have 40 hours. I know you put in. I know the hours you put in. What I'm saying is we really should have a full-time planner in this town, especially where we're trying to grow so much. But I think you do a great job. I've told you that since the day I met you, I think, right?
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And one other thing I'd like to mention, the board, a recent development in the last couple of days, Dave Pichette, the conservation, and I sat down with AD Makepeace. They will be submitting for site plan review for the third and final medical office building. Public hearing to happen in March before the planning board. They have yet to formally submit. They should be submitting with my office probably in the next couple of weeks. But it was a great meeting with Mr. Kane and Mr. Berkeley of AD Makepeace the other day, and I think it should go very smoothly because we already have the first 2 medical buildings in. This one is not going to be drastically different.
It's repetitious, right? I mean, you get through it, and we're putting structural steel up that's going to increase the commercial
Absolutely.
base of the town. And thank you very much, Mr. Charbonneau.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, John.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Great.
Have a good night, John.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, if I could continue. On the 29th of January, I attended a rally in support. The board was informed by Senator Mark Pacheco that the governor, the administration, Governor Patrick, had suggested and submitted a plan to close Taunton State Hospital. I went to a rally at the First Parish Church of Taunton to support the effort to keep the hospital open. Senator Mark Pacheco organized a meeting which focused upon a proposal drafted to the Patrick administration, a series of resolutions for all the South Coast cities and towns to really rally behind the hospital. I did some research and found that Taunton State Hospital is just about 150 years old. What they're suggesting at the state level is that we send all of our patients to Worcester, and that parents and families and loved ones go up to Worcester to support the mental health care of their loved ones. Not good enough for me, Mr. Chairman. And in the packet tonight, the board has a resolution that's attached. I would urge you to sign it, and I will send it to the governor by virtue of, once again, supporting to keep Taunton State Hospital open. It's a very valuable and important part of our continuity of care on the South Coast. On February 1st, Mr. Chairman, I just want to update the board. You and I met with Ms. Kerry Mello from South Coast Hospitals Group, Marcine Fernandez from Turning Point, Tom Fitzpatrick from Turning Point, and John O'Brien from Father Bill's and Mainspring. And the idea here was to look at a better plan to service the homeless population, not only in Wareham, but in the region. We're working with this group on feedback. They'll be running various plans by our leadership team here in town, the business and industry community in town, social and religious organizations over the next several months. I also wanted, Mr. Chairman, to provide you with one of the most fascinating seminars that I attended at the Mass Municipal Association in Boston several weeks ago was a very important workshop on capital planning. Selectwoman Begley and I attended. We participated with other cities and towns. And the important part here is that the models that were put forward, which I'll be working on from the town of Arlington and the town of Wellesley, would be to find ways to enhance the capital planning process, capture information on life cycle, if you will, with regards to all of our capital assets. And we'll be working closely with the Board of Selectmen, the Capital Planning Committee, and the Finance Committee on this effort. On Article 48, Mr. Chairman, you have in your packet, I would ask that we hold, if we could, because I understand we need to update some of the language in the packet on item number 9D, as in David. Is the legislation that Town Council has been working on with Senate and House Council with regards to Article 48, but I would just ask we hold it for the next meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
And also working cooperatively with the school district on, once again, a number of projects, including the budget. As far as town hall virtualization is concerned, I got an update from Mr. Underhill this afternoon. They are working on activating the servers between the police department and town hall. And I am proud to say that you have in your hand a 10-page updated financial management action plan that Selectman Snyder had asked for. It is in your packet. I'd ask you to take a look at it. I will keep it on my report until we can remove all the items we are focused on, and I am proud to say that Justin Cole from the Bay State Municipal Accounting Group is working closely with our treasurer collector to hammer away on the most important issue that was noted in the 2011 audit, cash reconciliations, and we should be done through the month of December by the end of the week. I'll keep the board posted on that, and that was the goal that we had set at our December 14th meeting, where I will bring forward a set of independent auditors from Powers and Sullivan to start to look at fiscal 2012 from July 1st, 2011 through December 31st, to have that first, if you will, field audit hopefully coming up in middle part of March. So that is an update for the board, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions from the board? Mr. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. I have a question about the computer virtualization system.
Sure.
Now, as part of that contract, did we get a certain number of hours from the company, from the vendor? A month?
Yes, for the implementation of the project. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, how's that been going? So,
well, we're working to get the physical plant, if you will, the servers up and running, and then the idea would be to trigger additional hours of assistance in getting departments up to speed and to have the full training for our staff.
So we don't have that person in town hall yet?
Not quite yet, no.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Chairman, actually, I didn't notice. I was looking for that, unless it's somewhere in here. I was looking for the update that Mr. Schneider's been asking for.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I don't think I have that.
Yeah, I think it was in your, packet.
Came in a separate envelope, Steve. Yep. Came in a separate envelope.
Ah, okay. I'd like to see that. Also, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to... in the back.
In the box where the packets are at.
I have two quick questions. I was watching TV the other day, and I don't get to do that too often, but I heard about the final letter, management letter, right, and that the Board of Selectmen had written a response. I don't recall us even discussing it to write a response. Can I get a copy of that response from the Board of Selectmen to this letter? I don't have a copy.
Mr. Chairman, I wrote the response for the management letter for the town. It's in your packet.
It's in,
There's
in this?
Yeah, there's three copies,
Right.
Steve, for 3 years. One is the basic financial statements, one is the management letter about those statements, and one is the report on federal
So
awards.
the Board of Selectmen did not write a response?
The administration wrote the response.
Okay. Well, that's a big difference between us and the administration. And my last quick point is if we could, at our next meeting, February 21st or March 6th, I'd like to schedule and have Mr. Cole come in. He's been here now since December 1st, so it's December, January. We're into February, that's 3 months. He'd have been here at least a quarter. We didn't get to meet with him in December, which was under the original agreement, so he'll have been here for 3 months. And I'd like to have him just come in and give the board a direct update, and then we'd be able to ask him questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to schedule that, but if I can just harken back, on December 14th, Mr. Cole was in attendance and was here to provide his auditing expertise relative to the receiving of the audit work done by Powers and Sullivan. So
Well, I was here that night too,
I know
Mr.
you were.
Andrews.
Yes.
That was a meeting with Powers and Sullivan. Mr. Cole was here.
I did ask him to attend,
Yeah.
right, right.
But it was a different meeting that we had put in the contract to come before the board and talk. He barely said 5 words that night, and I understand that because it wasn't his meeting.
Okay.
He was here.
I'm
I
happy to
understand.
schedule him in. I'll work
But
with
yeah,
the
I'd
chairman.
like him to come in and tell us where we're at on
Sure.
different things, especially reconciliation. That's all being done, I'm assuming. I'm assuming a lot of things.
We can have him come in,
and
Mr.
have
Chairman.
him come in after the first quarter here, first week of March, and just have a chat with the board.
Absolutely.
And if you let him know ahead of time, we don't have to pay for the travel.
Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Mr.
I
Snyder?
just a quick, Selectman Holmes kind of stole my thunder as far as my liaison report for the Finance Committee. It's okay, Steve. Just first off, I think that from my standpoint, the recommendations from management on the audit, since the issue has come up, is something that typically, in my experience, a board of directors, it's typical for management to offer the responses to the issues in the audit, and for the board of the corporation, who actually is in charge of the organization, to vote and approve an audit, and to vote to approve the recommendations. And that was actually something I was going to raise as an issue, because I think it is important, because I think that this Board of Selectmen owns the audit. And I think that, I think it's important for us to show that, we are engaged in the process and we are supporting what the recommendations are, because I know that I've looked through the recommendations, and I don't think there's anything in there that any of us would necessarily disagree with as far as solutions. And I think that this document, from my standpoint, was looking at that issue kind of long-term, Steve. And I think there should be one more column over here for the Board of Selectmen as far as drafting, policy moving forward, for us to actually track policy. I know there's a lot of columns on there, Mr. Town Administrator, but I think it's important. And I don't disagree with Selectman Holmes that, I do understand that Mr. Powers was here with the auditor, but for him to come in and give us with a brief update, sure, for maybe those items are contained in this report, and I think a lot of them are, but I think to have the FaceTime with him as a Board of Selectmen, I think it's important for us to do that.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And if you want another column, I'll add another column.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I'm not sure what the column
small,
is.
So you have to get your magnifying glasses out.
Right, but I do think, just glancing at this quickly, this is exactly what I had in mind, and I do appreciate the effort,
Sure.
and I know that there's a lot of effort put into this by Mr. Cole as well.
Okay. I got it.
So
One more thing. Are you finished? Mr.
may I just one more thing? So just on the issue of us of a formal vote, I don't know what the history is on that issue, but from my standpoint, every corporation votes on accepting an audit, and I think it's important that that we do that. Maybe we should put it on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to. I was following the protocols that I was made aware of when I got here. So I'm happy to if you want that to happen. I do understand the column. I'm welcome to any feedback, because as you can see, there's plenty of room on the margin to tell me what you think about these issues. Some of them are very technical, but I would welcome any feedback that you might have, and I'm sure Mr. Cole can go through his portion of it when he arrives, or when he comes to the next meeting.
Right.
Sure.
Mr. Bagley?
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Just one more item before we move on in the agenda, and I know there are people waiting. Is this something that the resolution in support of Taunton State Hospital that this board should vote on?
Mr. Chairman, thank you, because I was looking at the clock, and I apologize to you. I would love a motion to endorse this resolution so that I can include it in the packet that we'd like to send to the governor to urge him to rethink the closing of the hospital. And it was in the board packet, and I would love to have that read. Thank you.
Is that your pleasure?
You want to, okay, so, all right, I'd make a motion that the board support resolution in support of Taunton State Hospital. Whereas Taunton State Hospital was established as a leader in effective treatment of mental health. Whereas Taunton State Hospital has led the moral good movement anchored in the rich Federalist architecture and pastoral grounds. Whereas Taunton State Hospital has served thousands of critically ill mental health patients from the South Coast region. Whereas Taunton State Hospital has created an atmosphere of support that has assisted patients gain ground towards recovery. Some of this language needs to be cleaned up a little bit before we send it, but Taunton State Hospital has endeavored to bring quality mental health care to the town of Wareham and South Coast region, whereas Taunton State Hospital is an economic engine for in our local economy that generates hundreds of jobs and local income, whereas the doctors, medical experts, health care professionals, and entire staff have demonstrated a devotion, dedication, and high level of professionalism for over 149 years. And when this, therefore, we, the Wareham Board of Selectmen, have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of the town of Wareham on this 7th day of February 2012. Signed by the Wareham Board of Selectmen. I would
Motion made, yeah, go ahead.
further that motion, if I could just finish the motion, that we allow a day or so, Mrs. Winslow is ill, allow her the opportunity to sign this as well.
Motion made by Steve, second by Mr. Bagley. No questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? 4-0-0.
We'll make sure we get this cleaned up, right?
I have the cleaned up.
Is that it?
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Town Administrator.
Okay.
Mr. Holmes, Town
You got
Business.
it. Next up is the meeting with the Bike Path Committee. Oh, it's coming right on up. Okay, yeah. You need more chairs?
This four of us. I'm not going to be the only one behind us. I'm going to get back.
Take one for me, too.
Thank you. Good evening. Just if you wouldn't mind to introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Langford, the
all of
chairman
you.
of the Bike Path Committee.
Damon Howard, a member of the committee.
You have to get right on top of that. Mike. Good evening. Basically, what we've began to do is have the committees come in, boards and commissions come in and tell us basically, you know, how's it going, what's happening, what's the latest news, what you've been through. If you have any openings, this is your commercial with the residents of the town, so feel free.
As far as openings are concerned, we're happy to be one of the few boards that is full up. So, committees, yeah, we're happy. We struggled for many years with barely enough for an agenda. I mean, be able to have a quorum for an agenda. So we're very happy that we have that now. Currently, we're at the some more fact-finding stages. As you know, when we had a meeting with District 5, they set up a couple of things that they wanted from the town from us. A couple of those things were to identify all the abutters along the pathway so that they could be notified in an open meeting as to any impact it might have on their properties by having a pathway run in front or behind, whatever the case may be, of their homes or their properties. Currently, we just got the Phase 1 listing of those folks, and we'll be trying to draft a letter real soon that speaks to that we'd like these folks to turn out to a meeting to discuss any of these issues. Hopefully, we'll design this meeting around bringing in the architect of the feasibility study as well as the people from the pathway and so forth to, you know, if there's any fears or any concerns, we can address them so that'll have been done in a formal format for District 5. That's our approach will be each phase of the project we'll try to get the abutters' names and so forth. One of our questions, of course, is whether or not this needs to be a formal document going out like with green cards from the town, where the town says all the abutters were notified, like of a building project. You have to notify the abutters, and the contractor has to get those cards back and so forth. While that wasn't mandated by the state, I'm not so sure that we want to have something in return from the abutters that they really did get notified by the town of the meeting, you know. So that's one of our questions to you folks, whether or not that's necessary. One of the things that was mentioned a little while ago by John Charbonneau, of course, is this new design for streets in the town not the town, but the state of Massachusetts by MassDOT. That will affect this project. Anywhere along any road work that is done that MassDOT has to approve, the road being designed from the outside in is a huge difference. You will not be able to have a road that doesn't account for pedestrians or cyclists and so forth, which is a huge deal. When you stop and think about the town of Wareham and the money we spend to put all of our kids on buses, even when they live a block from the school, because there's no safe sidewalks, there's something inherently wrong with that because we didn't think to build roads properly from the outside in. So that'll be a big help. We are continuing to meet every single third Wednesday of the month. Anybody who wants to come by, talk to us, we're lovely to have people come. We also are working diligently at some ideas where, you know, this project will take on different legs after we get the main corridor done, because the towns of Carver and Plymouth have begun to outreach to us regarding the trunk going from South Coast to South Shore through their towns and linking in Wareham. It has to link in Wareham, and so we're excited about having that contact happen already, and we're looking forward to more of those conversations and what can happen to make this pathways very unified from Rhode Island border all the way through Massachusetts and so forth. So Wareham's a big chunk. It's, you know, where we're sitting it's a huge undertaking. Our pathway is among the biggest in the state. It's about 13 miles a pathway. Most of them go around 4 or 5, maybe 6 miles at the most. So this is a huge one. But if we do it right, you know, and we take the time to do it right, then there won't be a whole lot of real concerns, I don't believe. We continue to see the town, we post a survey on the town website. It keeps coming back at 96% of the people taking the survey want this pathway. That's a huge margin no matter what you're talking about in terms of, so how can we not build this pathway would be a bigger question. 4% of the people don't understand enough about it, have concerns. We need to address those concerns legitimately. On the same token, when 96% of the people say they want it, we need to find a way of getting it accomplished, and that's really where we're at in terms of that, sticking with it until we get it done. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be right back.
Any questions?
How can we help?
Well, we certainly would like that advice as to whether or not we need formal recognition of the you know, the abutters. Do we need to do that so that we can say, okay, we sent out a notification and they send back the card, you know, goes with the postal service as it does with all construction projects, so that we can say we had a meeting, we invited the people of Phase 1 abutters to come, and they all responded. 25 of them showed and met at a meeting that described these things. We'll keep minutes and all that. So that's one thing we'd like to have a clarification on, whether or not we need to do that, or after we draft our letter, we want to come back and show you the letter, because we really would like to get out to the abutters, even as a committee, and go door to door, say, we're planning on having a meeting, please come, please come. But is it formal enough for the town's needs, is what our question is.
Did you happen to talk to the folks up in Fairhaven?
Yes.
What did they send out the certified cards, or did they just publicize it?
They publicized it. We've done some meetings like that, and it wasn't clear who attended other than, people who were interested per se. But the state sort of mandated at their last meeting to us that we make a serious attempt of notifying those abutters where the project will affect, and somehow, I guess, documenting that we did that. So that's what the state said at the last District 5 meeting to us.
Did you have anything? Okay.
I'm just wondering if Mr. Andrews might be able to help us with that question through Mr. Bowen. But how many people are we talking about?
We just got it back. 68 properties would be in the first phase, would have to be notified.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's, again, sending out a letter plus the return postage and that stuff to get it back is not something that the Bike Pack Committee doesn't have a budget. I think we've got somewhere about like $100 somewhere stuck around.
That's
somewhere.
my point.
Town council certainly can tell us.
But I'm sure right. I think town council could probably advise us on this, and we can ask Mr. Andrews to look into it for us.
Okay.
Anything else?
This doesn't work here. I just wanted to say that I believe that at this point, the formal letter to the abutters is not necessary until we actually start building
Mm-hmm.
the pathway. So I think what Mike's trying to say is that we can notify them by postage, we can notify them by mail, but do we have to, at this time, notify them legally through the town? Is that correct, Mike?
That's pretty correct. I mean, we've never been ones to try to overstep our bounds or what we can do. We want to make sure that we're doing it correctly, and if it's okay for us to proceed like this, then that's one thing. But if there is a question as to this, we're a committee. We're a committee that tries to get information and bring it forward. But if there's any issue that the town would be facing with us doing that, go ahead.
Right.
Mr. Bagley?
I wonder if, so this would be for an informational meeting, not a public hearing. Is that correct? Because for a public hearing, that would be entirely different.
Right. That'd be entirely different. This would be informational. The meeting would be informational, but it certainly would have to be publicized and things like that. That's what the state was saying to us. They want to make sure that the town did its due diligence in notifying all the abutters. Okay. And that's really a question. How do we get that accomplished effectively for the state to say, yeah, you did it? And
I wonder if this could be in the form of an email to Mr. Andrews, and Mr. Andrews could kind of pass it on to town council.
Yeah, I just made a note to get that.
okay.
Maybe that'll help.
And I guess the only other thing that the state mentioned to us, that we need someone from the town to represent this project with MassDOT at District 5. It can't be a committee member. It has to be an employee, administration, or a member of his committee or team to be the champion for our project at District 5 meetings. The way they explained it to us is pretty simple. Once your application is accepted, you're on the tip. And what can happen many, many times is that a project comes up on the tip and it isn't completely ready and certified. Well, they drop off, and then if your project is ready, you'd slide in their spot. Well, basically, how that happens is through the fact that you have a champion at their meetings always bringing forth the fact that your project is ready, your project is this, and so forth. So that was one of the things they mentioned as well to us that we really need to have.
When's the next meeting of that District 5?
I don't have it off the top of my head right now, I'm sorry.
Would that be the town planner? Would that be Mr. Charbonneau?
Mr. Chairman, through you, yes, I apologize. The two individuals that have assisted, correct me if I'm wrong, the committee, the town planner, John Charbonneau, who was in that vicinity anyways for those meetings, and also Dave Pichette from a conservation board, so commission. So those two individuals will be of assistance. If you need any additional assistance, I'm happy to help if whatever I can do.
It has to be a town official that represents the project and so forth. You know, and that's fine so long as they're, I guess, tasked with when they're there to talk about our project a little bit.
When Lois and others came to, excuse me, through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Came to leadership team meeting, I think at least a couple of times. We talked about it with the department heads, and John Charbonneau, the planner, and Dave Bichette, the conservation administrator, because of the issues that would be faced when you get into the planning parts of this that would make a lot of sense, are the two individuals that I've assigned to the project. So if there's any additional assistance, just let me know.
Okay. Okay. That's
Great.
great. Any other questions? Joy's concerned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Sorry
very
it's
much.
so late.
Have a good one.
We got here.
And next up, we have the Council on Aging. Council on Aging. Going once. Come right on up. Yeah, because this is getting close. If you don't hurry up, we'll just put it off till next week. No, we wouldn't do that. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening.
If you would do pretty much the same, I will conserve time as well. Do the same as the Bike Path Committee did. Talk to us about the committee, what's happening, what's going on, what's the latest news, membership, etc. Geo Commercial.
Liz McDonald, Chairman of the Council on Aging. Over the past year, we've had several people leave. Several members have come on. Excuse me. The selectmen accepted the fridge and freezer and shelving that was donated by the Friends of Wareham Elderly. We have been working on I guess it's a service project with local servicemen, builders, masonry, plumbing, heating, that will go on one sheet they will be, I lost my train of thought, the service. They will be active for the seniors, and they will give seniors breaks on work done, and discounts on all work done by them.
Does all that go through the council, through Mrs. Green's office?
Yes. Yep.
Someone's interested in that service.
Yep, and there's been discussion of having just a one sheet with that list inserted into the senior beacon. Something they can tack on their fridge or on a cork board and have it ready. So anyone who is listening who does construction, handyman, plumbing, heating, tune-ups that are willing to give their time and services at a discount for seniors, contact Susan Green at the Council on Aging with their information.
Will Mrs. Green be checking out these businesses to be sure that they're bonded, insured, etc.?
No, they're not working through the town, for the town or for
No,
the board.
but to protect the seniors.
I'm not sure of that question. I know that Susan has spent time with town council about the wording and how they could be listed, and when this list was made, we had to make sure that we weren't endorsing these people.
Right.
We were just providing a central list. Instead of going through the yellow pages, page after page, there's just a smaller list.
I understand your intentions, but just want to be sure that these businesses would have references, just so that they're not a business that kind of showed up and then leaves.
Yeah, we got the
Right.
information, and then the list was sent to Susan, and Susan vetted it through town council.
Okay, I just want to be sure because if this is coming through a town board or something, I don't want us to be liable, and I also don't want the seniors to be victimized in any way. And I know you don't.
Right, correct.
So just to be certain.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, open for questions.
Openings on the board?
Yes, there is one currently. We have another member has not resigned formally yet. He is doing some international work, and he has told us at several meetings that his intention, once he gets all the red tape for his international, he is going.
No, he's still here.
Formally, he is not resigned yet. Apparently,
here.
there's a lot of red tape when you go international, and it's taken a lot longer than he obviously anticipated.
So there's one full-time and one associate?
No, just one
Just
full-time.
one full-time. How many associates do you have?
2.
Oh, you have 2. Okay. So one full-time?
At this
and-
moment, yes.
And soon to be a second one, because I know the gentleman you're speaking of.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have some interviews at our third meeting this month.
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. Snyder? Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, through you, I think that the service project is a good idea. It's a good concept. And I heard you say tune-ups. So is it just home-related items, or is it other items too? Is it like a tune-up on an oil burner when you're talking about that, or is it a tune-up on a car?
Car, oil burner, anything. Outside dump runs, basement cleanings, anything. Any service that a senior would need.
Yeah.
It started with local businessmen, and there are a couple out of town, but most of them are local. And they have agreed and are willing to give seniors breaks, price breaks, discounts, free appraisals, free estimates. So.
Yeah, and as I said, I think it's a great idea, but I'm still not quite clear what the role of the town is in it. If it's going through Susan Green's office?
There is no role in the town. Part of our mission is to understand and gather the needs of local seniors and help facilitate programs to ensure their needs are met. And this was a huge concern, for the normal person to pay $200 to have their oil burner serviced is not really a big deal. But for a senior on a fixed income who's also paying $400 every 2 months to get that oil, that's a huge, huge concern. So these people have agreed, maybe if they get like oil burner service, for instance. If they get their oil through them, they'll give them an hour's worth of free labor.
Right. No, and I understand that part, but what I'm trying to understand is how do they make the connection with these folks? Is it like a listing? Is it vetted through Susan Green's office? There's a flyer.
There's a flyer. Like I said, at this point, it's only one sheet. We're hoping it grows to a couple sheets. We're hoping to get it, like I said, in the Senior Beacon. It's posted out a couple places in Town Hall. Martha taking it to Stop and Shop or Eastern Bank. Stop and Shop or Eastern Bank, where they have public bulletin boards. A couple of the churches have got it. Pastor Jim initiated this, and he's since gone. But he's made sure that the clergy has it, the Toby has it.
Okay, and putting this network of individuals together is being done by the Council on Aging through Susan Green?
Yes.
Okay. The Service Committee. And I guess that's kind of where as I said, I think it's a great idea, but is there a formal policy that the Council on Aging has adopted in relation to this issue? Particularly as it relates to, just off the top of my head, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to have do we need a Corey policy? And because if these people are going into people's homes, we don't know who's in the home. It could be the grandchildren as well. You understand
Right,
what I'm
and that was the disclaimer why Susan went through town council. This list is not endorsed.
Okay.
They don't meet our approval. We don't have a star rating. Basically, we went through the phone book and called down the list, and these people, we know if they call them, we'll give them a discount or a price break on their service.
I understand.
That's as far as it went. The seniors were asking for a handyman, for specialists to come in and help that would give them a break. And that was our mission, and that's what we compiled.
I understand, and again, I think it's a very good idea, but if it's, you know, if the flyers, et cetera, are going out on Council of Aging, letterhead, and things like that.
No letterhead.
but
Absolutely no letterhead. There's no reference to the Council on Aging. There's no reference to the town of Wareham. It's just a plain white piece of paper with it, like, say it's Mike Schneider oil burning service. Mike Schneider, oil burner service, and his number. That's it.
But the work was done by the Council on Aging to put the list together, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that the town, and you're saying that there's a disclaimer, so I'm assuming it's a waiver involved? So my question to town council through you, Mr. Andrews, would be, can a grandmother or a grandparent waive their grandchildren's rights if something were to happen to the grandchild in that case? And I don't want to be a damper on the project, but I just want to make sure that our bases are covered, because my understanding would be if something happened to a grandchild and the town had any involvement, I would think that we would be liable to some extent. So I just want to make sure that we vet it properly and make sure that, you know, all our bases are covered.
Correct, and that's...
I'll check with town council tomorrow to double
And
check.
that's why Susan Green had went to town council and talked with, I believe it was Rich Bowen, when she reported back in her director's report, that she had talked to him. He said we could do A, B, and C, and D. We could not do X, Y, and Z. As long as we kept it A, B, C, and D, the town was okay. There was no liability. She wasn't liable. The board wasn't liable. So it did go down.
So, Mr. Andrews, just double check with Susan Green, right?
Just double check it.
That'll
yeah.
end all that. Right. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we go beyond the hour of 10 to finish the agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Ellen to go beyond 10 to finish the agenda. Second by Mike.
As long as you're quick. I fall asleep.
I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Wait up.
I have one more announcement.
Hold it.
One more.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
He's trying to rush it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
The senior beacon came out. Lieutenant Walzak from the Wareham Police Department is our liaison for the Council on Aging and the seniors. There's been a lot of different scams pop up in the last couple months between phone calls, mails, door knockers, people saying they're doing electrical for NSTAR work. There is going to be, is it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. There's going to be an information session. Yes. And it's from the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office. They will come in and speak on the most popular scams, how to recognize them, what to do, and that's open to everyone.
And the location. Give the location.
The multi-service center here.
Room.
Did Susan have a room?
I think that was in question.
I think at our meeting, Susan wasn't sure.
It's in question right now.
Okay, so it's Thursday in the morning at 10 o'clock, multi-service center. It's the scam put on by the scam.
It's not the scam.
No, it's not a scam, but right. Scam information put on by the district attorney of Plymouth County.
Yeah, scam alerts. And they did a similar program last year too.
And they had 100 people.
Wow.
It was this is a scam.
Yep.
Run by the police department. Perfect.
It's late.
John, I hope you're not listening.
So are there any other major projects Council on Aging is working on? You've got the service list. You guys are always putting on something, some kind of educational or
Yeah, We are also working to redo our bylaws. Our bylaws are at the board's discretion to look over, rewrite, change, add verbiage at our discretion, and then vote on. We are currently compiling rewrites, and we will spend the next few months going over and voting and compiling a brand new written set of bylaws for the Council on Aging. And that's been about 9 months in the making.
I'm not sure I ever saw the old ones.
They're on file at the clerk's office.
I'm
And
not
there's
sure.
several from 1972 to 2007. There's several copies.
Oh, that they've been changed that frequently? Oh, that's interesting.
2007.
So what else for the seniors? Anything else that you want to advertise? Oh, yes.
Always drivers for Meals on Wheels.
And do you happen to know the hours for the food pantry? So that you
It's
can
Tuesday. That is not run by the Council on Aging or the Board of Directors. That is run by the
Friends of the Wareham
Wareham's
Elderly. Right, but you can give them a pitch.
It was Tuesday. It's changed. Okay, every Tuesday from 1 a.m. to 3 p.m.
No, 1 p.m.
It's late. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. for Wareham residents 60 years and older.
Okay.
And they're always looking for donations. There was a comment earlier in announcements
announcement.
about
Yeah, it was an
yes,
announcement.
the clerk made an announcement, always looking for canned goods and non-perishables.
And does the just I know it's late. I don't want to keep you. I just have one more quick question. Does the Council on Aging do like a survey with the elderly, or I'm going to say 60 and over because I'm still insulted by the 55. To see what services they're looking for, or what the kinds of educational offerings or the kinds of projects that the Council on Aging could do. Do you folks ever? Has there been a survey in recent memory?
Survey, not since I've been on the board. I had brought, as a service committee member, a suggestion box, and Susan was okay with that, and the board was okay with that. Just have to find a box that won't walk away.
But even a survey
or get
that
smushed and we didn't call it a survey box, it was suggestion box.
But a survey could go even into a local paper, like a free paper or something, and people could either mail it back, or if you guys, I don't know if you have a web site, but on the Beacon, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but the problem with if you're mailing or something, you're putting basically the board's work on someone else. Like if we do a survey and mail it back to Susan Green, Susan's taking on that extra work. So that's why we figured with the suggestion box a few months ago, if a couple board members and Susan had the key to it, it could be checked regularly.
Well, I think that Susan could just like collect the mail and send it. If you folks have like a survey committee, they could, I mean, all she has to do is like physically pick it up.
Right.
If you guys had a committee. So if you kind of devised, okay, what direction do we want to go in? How do we determine the greatest needs? How do we prioritize the needs for the next year? Then you guys could develop a survey. Very simple. Keep it simple. Keep it short. If you make it single-spaced an entire page,
Right.
you know where it'll go. So if you just kind of you could ask the community itself how they would like what their needs are, and how they would prioritize, and maybe even some suggestions. I think your suggestion box is great, but maybe a survey could reach a greater number of people, because your suggestion box would only reach the people that actually come to the multi-service center.
Right, and then, excuse me, Martha, with the survey, you also run into cost. Who's going to print it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be mailed? There's a cost that we don't have. We don't
Right,
have a
but
budget.
it could be, at least
so-
it could be discussed on your agenda, and maybe some of those issues could be addressed.
I mean, it certainly could. Where would the money come from?
And when are your regular meetings, and people can
The
come there and
first-
discuss the survey versus suggestion box? That would
The
be a
first
great place.
Wednesday of the month. It is at 6:30 p.m.
6:30.
in room 208, the Mug and Muffin Room.
Mr. Chairman, one last quick
Yes,
question,
Mr. Sinat.
and certainly make the answer very short because I know it is late. Top 3 priorities in the next 6 months for the Council on Aging. What are they?
Bylaws. We would really like to see a full-time director. We love Susan. Susan, the Shine program has been cut out, with the Citizens for Citizens being the hours cut. We're losing volunteer staff for the day program and for help in the office. We really, really need a full-time director that's going to invest all their 40 hours into the seniors. I said Susan has done a remarkable job juggling both, but the seniors really need and deserve a full-time director looking out for them.
Thank
How many
you.
hours does Mrs. Green do now? For Council on Aging, for over there, over here?
Okay, that would be something Mr. Andrews can look into.
As many, I mean, if there was a survey or something like that, we have staff we can help out with, and Susan really has great latitude here to help and to stay in the office as long as she needs to. So, you know, I'm not sure.
So she's available 40 hours?
If
here?
if need be on any given occasion, she does the mail with me and other clerical types of work. But if there was something that came up, if there was a stretch where, like when we unveiled the food pantry through you, Mr. Chairman, I publicly want to thank the Friends of the Elderly and the entire group that worked on that. We had to set up the opening, and I mean, she really kind of galvanized the whole
Right.
process. So whatever it took to get the job done, I think is my approach.
Yeah, if there's events or things of that nature, you know, Susan always juggles her time, and, you know, she's never treated the COA as a second, you know, class citizen, so to speak. She's always helped. She's always been right on top of everything. You can go to her. You can reach her email. You can call her and talk to her. But like I said, with the Shine program being taken out, the seniors really need someone to work in that 40 hours a week, go after grants, get programs in place, talk with, you know, surrounding hospitals, get the diabetic checks in, get the mobile vans in. They really need this, and it's gone by the wayside, and they really need it. And that's our job, is to, you know, speak up for them. And they really deserve what the best that the town can give them, and that would be a full-time director working for them 40 hours a week.
I think that a survey might demonstrate some of those priorities as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great job.
Thank you.
Next we have the vote on the population estimates for the seasonal licenses in 2012. I'll read the letter to the members of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, acted under the authority contained in Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 17 is amended. The undersigned local licensing authority, a meeting held on February 7th, 2012, estimated that the temporary increase resident population in the town of Wareham as of July 10, 2012 would be 44,000. This estimate was made and voted upon by the undersigned at a meeting called for the purpose, after due notice to each of the members of a time, place, and purpose of said meeting, and after investigating and ascertaining by us all the facts, and after cooperative discussion and deliberation, the estimate is true to the best of our knowledge and belief. The local licensing authority makes the above statements under the penalties of perjury. Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we postpone a vote on this for 2 weeks to give us time to do what it says in the letter.
Motion made.
Oh, you need it before March 1st? Well, we can. Well, I'm not going to sign my name to something. After all, we're getting finite on words on a document. I mean, this says that we did a lot of stuff, and I don't think we did it.
Well, I'll second that for discussion, since we discussed it.
Okay, second by Ellen for discussion. Discussion.
Second for discussion, since we're discussing it anyway. So it has to be, this would have to be placed then on the February 28th agenda. If
March 31st.
March 1st in any year, prior to March 1st.
Says right there, please complete and return the enclosed form to this office by March 31st, 2012.
Big bold letters.
So we have two different dates on the return list.
So the next meeting is the 21st.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I think I said March. First week of March. So you need to. Would you take your second back? Okay, I withdraw that motion. Make a motion that we postpone this till February 21st, if we could put that on the agenda. And some kind of proof or information be provided to the local licensing authority prior to that meeting and not the night of, so that we have a chance to review it. That was the motion. That's what we're talking about.
Yes, just to clarify.
Okay, motion made by Steve, second by Ellen. Same old. Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Any other town business? Oh, wait.
The
one
Board
second.
of
Did I skip? Oh, Board of Sewer.
Didn't we go over that already? I think we went on Mr. Andrews' report when he said put it off.
Well, any other town business is next. He's good all night. Shouldn't take long.
I don't hear any other town business. We'll move on.
Mr. Chairman, I do have other town business. I'm kind of, I've been doing a little bit of research, and I'd like to put a discussion of junk dealer licenses on our agenda for the next meeting, because I believe that...
What was that again? I didn't hear it.
I'd like to put a discussion of junk dealer licenses on our agenda for discussion. And those who are required to have them and those who are required not to have them in the town. Yeah, if we could put it on the agenda for the 21st, that would be great.
So noted.
Thank you, sir.
Any other? Mr. Holmes?
No,
Sewer
it's
business?
okay. Mr. Campina, good evening.
Good evening, Selectman Holmes.
We
Chairman
have
Cruz,
before us
members of the board, Mr. Snyder,
two
Mr.
abate.
Bailey, and Mr. Andrews. I'm sorry, go right ahead. I apologize, I was saying good evening.
We have before us item A, which is a sewer user fee abatement request for account number 37040.
Yes, in an amount of $298. We request an abatement of $298 for the first half fiscal year 2012 sewer usage billing. The letter states the water's been off since January 17th, 2007. It just came to our attention, so we're only able to go back 1 year due to our water policy. So we're going to abate them the $298 that they paid, put it on hold until some type of disposition is done with the property.
Make a motion that we approve the sewer user fee abatement request for account number 7040, map 14, lot 1063 for $298.
Motion made by
Intentionally
Steve.
left out the people's name and their address.
Second by Ellen. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
Item B, we have a request for extension of approximately 1 year to connect in the Parkwood Beach.
Yes, the gentleman sent a letter. I believe you have a copy of that. What he's doing is, there's an elevation in the backyard. The beach side is a septic system. He needs to spin the entire house, change the plumbing, and he's certainly not going to have that done. He's also talking about, it's an older house inherited, and he needs to do a lot of renovation, and he thinks he's just going to put a prefab house, so he's got conservation issues and architectural issues, and there's just no way he can have it done, so he's asking up to a year. It could be sooner, but he wants to give himself plenty of time because of these various boards that he has to go through to complete his task before he actually connects. The issue is, if we make him move forward, he's going to put a pump system in the backyard, because that's where the plumbing is, and then he's going to have to abandon that to go gravity, so it doesn't make any sense to put one until he completely spun the house and changed the plumbing to the front. He travels a lot, he's out of town quite a bit, and so that's hampered his ability to get it done earlier.
And what is your recommendation?
I have no problem with it. My recommendation would be to allow him to postpone his connection to the sewer system until he makes this modification.
Now we're going to have a final date on it?
I don't have a final date.
No, you said a year, so we
he
can
said
put
up to a
exactly
year,
a
so
year.
he can get all this done, because we could put a date, but we may keep running up against dates, because I don't know how long conservation is going to take. Architecture plan, you go through the building department, I don't know. So he's asked for up to a year.
Okay, so we'll put a year date on it, then if he needs any other time, he'll have to come in.
I'm surely hoping to be done before that, but I would, that
If
to me
that's
would
the
be
pleasure.
appropriate.
Right. Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Chairman, through you. What is his due date now?
February 15th.
Of 2000.
Of this year, 2012, February 15th, that project's coming to completion. The year is done. I also have, and maybe we should take it to other business, but I also have a letter from a contractor who has 16 contracts. He's not going to get them done. I had a call today from a lady in Oak Street. She's not going to get done, so maybe we can take that in sewer business. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
What?
Can we finish this one?
I agree.
I'm not comfortable with just, if I think, do I still have the?
Yeah, you do, sure do.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with just a carte blanche extension. I think we have to put a date certain on it, so I would make a motion. And then if the owner has an issue, they can always come back.
Absolutely.
Right?
I agree.
So I would make an extension to grant the request for an extension until February 15th. Oh, no, what's today's date? February 7th. February 15th is the required date. February 15th, 2000. No later than February 15th, 2013.
I agree.
Motion made.
Sounds fine.
Why don't you make it like 6 months? You want to go the full year?
Well, he's
That's
asking
what he's
for a year.
asking.
He's asking
That's what
for a
he's
year.
asking.
Up to.
Up to, so we'll make it up, and then he doesn't have to come back again in 6 months. Because he's got a couple boards to go to, so.
I don't think that it would be unreasonable to request him to come back in 6 months and provide us with an update.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll make the motion for 6 months. Give him 6 months, whatever passes at this point.
It's fine.
The guy needs something, he can't do
He
it.
needs something, he has to move forward, so that's fine. And he'll come in. If he needs more time, he'll certainly know by then where he is. And
August 15th.
So a new date is August, what, 15th? Okay, 13th. Second by Ellen. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0-0. All opposed?
Other sewer business?
Other sewer business, draft letter. Does everybody have a chance to review? Do they want to go out? What would you like me to do with this letter?
Oh, the letter wasn't to be sent out.
I haven't sent
No,
nothing
that's
out.
for us to
That's why it's
discuss.
draft.
For
I
our,
sent a copy, okay,
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's for discussion on the
28th?
28th.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And you
Put that away.
did get the requested information, right? We're talking policies, those
I have-
policies, we'll have them ahead of time.
Yes, I have the policies. I have policies all the way back to 2005, letters that we have put out to the residents explaining the policies, procedures, and things like that. So I'll bring all those, and we can go over them.
Well, we're not going to be able to go through the entire sewer policy book in one.
No, this is just
one
pertaining to letters for projects.
The concern of the board 2 weeks ago was the policies that are affecting these things that come before us every week. We were going to discuss those policies that evening. We are going to do that, right?
You're talking about the
In
policies?
terms of especially this one, like the water's been shut off for a year.
Yes, that's the 28th
Those
also. Those policies I'm going to bring forward.
will be discussed during that workshop.
Yes.
To give the sewer commission, that's what they requested, to give them an opportunity to have a discussion and make some.
Yes, I'll bring all those policies pertaining to our policies related to abatement issues.
Okay, thank you.
And
That's-
then,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
want to narrow that down, because at the next workshop, we can take the next set of
The next set,
policies,
so
but
we'll-
we can't
okay.
do the whole book in one.
Because it's going to be a busy night. 20th is going to be a busy night, and I just want to, I don't want to put too much on our plate, and we'll never get through it. I don't know, because you do want to talk contract 1, contract 2, contract 3.
Well-
The 28th is a lot going on that evening.
We have an agenda for
Okay.
that evening. It's what the Board of Sewer Commissioners elected to do a couple of
Mhm.
weeks ago. Extensive discussion of sewer contracts, I don't think was quite on that list. We have some priorities that we need to take care of, like these policies
Okay.
that come up every week.
Okay.
And we send people away, and we feel bad that we do that, some of us, and so.
Okay. Do I have your permission to send Mike Judici a copy of our agenda so he can prepare?
And he was going to be here as well. Right.
Yes, and I'm going to talk to him. He would like to come this week, Thursday or Friday, to meet with myself, Mr. Gifford, Mr. Andrews, and maybe a member of the board to go over your agenda to make sure he can be properly prepared, so he knows what you want, so he can bring what you want. Because he's a little confused, so I wanted to make sure he was clear, because...
He was here that night and had a discussion with us.
Absolutely.
But we
and-
certainly can put that together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
It's not-
perhaps I'm just getting old or my memory is just failing me. I'm not sure, but I thought that my motion or the motion that was made was to send the update letter out via the sewer director. If we're going to have people in on the 28th anyway, I mean, those folks are going to have the opportunity to ask questions, but I thought that the letter was supposed to go out pretty much
Well,
immediately.
The comments were made during that meeting that that's been done in the past, and it's bad practice because we never saw the letter, approved the letter, discussed the letter.
Yeah,
So he
maybe
was
I'm just
gonna
getting
get
old,
us the
Steve.
letter to discuss that night and get it out.
Maybe I'm just getting old.
That's what.
Yeah, I guess my point is, though, is I certainly want to get this out as quickly as possible.
Right, but we want to make sure that everybody agrees with it, or at least the majority agrees with what's in there.
Mr. Bigley?
But I agree with what Mr. Campina said earlier, that there is going to be a lot on our plate, because I think this board also, I mean, we already got the extensive plans, those kinds of things. It's going to be a pretty full agenda. And there is going to be discussion on contract 1, 2, and 3. I mean,
I didn't say that.
right, probably not as extensive as some would hope, because it is going to be an evening meeting, and I'm not staying till morning, just not doing it. So we may, at that meeting, have to vote to go beyond the hour of 10, but we have to be reasonable about that.
My point was that we have an agenda,
Mhm.
in that this is not one sewer meeting that's going to solve Wareham's
Right.
sewer problems. You know, we have a list that we identified 2 weeks ago. That is the agenda. And what we don't get through, we'll do the next time, right?
Could I just finish?
Mr. Bigley?
Just want to finish. Mr. Campina, you said you have a list. Are those abatements or?
Abatement policies pertaining...
No. You had a list that you were going to include in the previous request for an extension. What list were you referring to? Because we don't have any of that information
No, you
here.
don't. When they came to me, in the course of the day and once the agenda's been set, my only point was the 15th is next week, and I'm getting requests continually to extend. It's just to extend. Example, I have a contractor letter right here. You haven't got it. You'll get it tomorrow, but he's asking for an extension because he has 16 to do. He's not going to make February 1st. Another young lady called me today. She's got to remodel, move her oil tank, change her plumbing around. That's not going to be ready. So I'm starting to get a lot of requests to extend.
So you're getting the requests on the 7th.
Yes. I'm getting yes, absolutely. They're coming now, and they're finding out that they're not going to be
And they
able to
want a
complete.
full year.
No, some want a
No.
couple months, a week. The times are different depending on the situation. One young lady called me today, and she said she's redoing her property. She wants to burn out her oil because they got to take the oil tank out, change the plumbing around, and then connect. So she wants to go to the completion of oil, which is the spring sometime, when she's not using heat, and then she'll connect at that time. So these are all these issues I need to bring in front of the board and make some decisions.
Now, all these people that are coming before you, do they have a contract contract with a contractor to install?
Correct.
Okay, they do.
They have a contract. I have a
So-
letter of 17 to actually have
And
contracts.
they have a proposed date on that contract with the contractor.
This particular one says 6 months because he's got to get through everything to complete all the contracts he has in the sewer projects. Right now, we have 312 completed out of the 500 it's 547, I believe it is. I don't have the actual numbers, but we're about 70% complete as of the end of January. So as the date is creeping to the 15th, people that aren't done are realizing, oh my goodness, and so they're looking into it, call the installer, that has to move, that's got to go. So now I can't make the deadline, so they're asking for extensions. That's what's happening now.
So the date of all these requests are from today?
Yesterday and today, yes, ma'am.
Unbelievable.
Yes, ma'am. And I got more calls, and I got more letters coming in, and as this week progresses, we're cranking to the 15th. I mean, we still have 30% to go, so I'm sure we'll get plenty more. So I was
So
looking for the
here's my question. We don't meet the 14th.
That's right.
If there are people requesting extensions from the Board of Sewer Commissioners after tonight, then what happens?
Okay, that's the reason why I asked if he has a contract in hand. Now, does that reflect any payments that they have to make because they don't tie in on the first? All the payments have went out, everything's went out, they'll still be paying EDU rate and the whole thing.
Well, that's the question. According to our bylaws, and I don't have the specific in front of me, I apologize, I didn't bring my manual. We are allowed to fine them $300 per day if they do not connect on the 15th. Okay, that's the bylaw. So we have a decision to make as a community. So on the 15th, comes the 16th, we get all those who aren't tied, and we send them off a letter stating, "Dear Sir, Madam, today's the 15th. This 15th was yesterday. You have not connected. So starting today, we are fining you $300 a day until you connect." That's one of our options. Or we just take it case by case. I'm looking for guidance from the board. You know, what do we really do? I know we have some legitimacy here, some people that are legitimate, and so, you know, we'll extend that because some people at the last minute they hire an installer. The installer says, wait a minute, this is not a cut and dry, dig to your foundation and hook you up. I've got to move all these things. That's going to take me a while to get. So that's legitimate, and they have a contract in hand, so well, I'll give you a contract. So in my opinion, if they have a contract, they've done that, and they just can't get it done, I don't have a problem with it because they have a contract in hand signed by the party and the installer. That's going to be a criteria. But if someone hasn't done anything, just, oh, you know, I kind of slipped my mind, you know, that person, I don't know how you deal with it. A bylaw states we fine them $300 a day. That's our bylaw.
Anything from the board? Now, as I mentioned before, that doesn't reflect any payment from them making the payments on EDU rate
None.
or whatever.
We don't start EDUs until they
we're worrying
physically
about
tie
is,
in.
only thing we're worrying about is the fine.
Correct. By our bylaws, come the 16th, by bylaw, I am to send out letters that you're incurring a $300 per day fine. That's by bylaw. And I've got letters, that's what was done in the past. Now, I'm not talking about follow-through of those letters, but we have letters out there.
And you said there's approximately 200 left to be tied in.
Approximately. Well, 316 to, yeah, approximately,
And
yes.
we just gave, prior to this, a 6-month extension on
one property, yes.
So how would it work if for 200, whatever it is, you send them all a letter, you have 6 months to tie in, or you would be, according to the bylaw, charged whatever the
Well,
fee
you do a
is.
blanket extension. Now, keep in mind that there are people, we got installs out there now working. There's, you know, when it comes to 15th, that 200 may not be 200, but because they're still working. But you know, the practicality of getting 200 done in a week isn't going to happen. It just isn't going to
No,
happen.
but that 200 is not going to have one contractor doing the 200.
No, we have
You know,
three
they-
contractors out there that are doing the bulk of it. One
But
contractor
the idea is you're
really
sending them a
doing the bulk.
notice, and you're giving them a 6 months extension right now. They have to have it done in 6 months, or else they'll be fined. Because if you've got 200, you're going to have more of them coming up before us.
I think a majority of the attorneys are going to call and say, listen, I need an extension, and we need to have some direction on handling that.
Mr. Cruz, are you suggesting that this board makes, that we pass a motion that just says that we send out a blanket letter to whoever just didn't, like, bother? I mean, there are some that may have forgotten. There are some that haven't been entirely on board with the sewer project. We get that. But are you suggesting that this board have a motion, pass a motion that he grants a 6-month extension to everyone that hasn't tied in yet?
I didn't say, well, there's 200 people that haven't tied in.
Because this board is the only one that can authorize
Right.
Mr. Campina
That's
to
right.
do
And
any
I'm
of
just
that.
making a suggestion. As suggestions been made all night long, I'm making a suggestion. We have 200 people that are online or offline that haven't been tied in. They need to be informed of the repercussion if they don't tie in. And we just gave one person 6 months. He asked for a year. We were almost going to give him a year. Okay. Now, like you said, you have a contract in hand, you know they're going to tie in, and for next week, we may have a bigger problem. If the weather drops,
Nothing's it's going to
then
stop.
you can't do anything.
And I'm surprised we got this far. We've been very fortunate. The weather's been very cooperative. May I suggest we take it case by case. I think at the 16th, blanket letters go out as far as our policy. But I think it should be case by case, every individual, because some people have legitimate cases, and then we just do our due diligence and see what the case is. They have a contract, yes, this is okay, and then we come to the board and say, here's the legitimacy of this case. I'll extend it or I won't extend it. I think we should take it case by case, but get the letter out that states that here's the repercussions if you just totally ignore us.
Mr. Chairman.
I could do that, yes.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Campina, has every resident received a letter informing them that this was the requirement?
Yes.
When?
A year ago.
A year ago?
Yes. Absolutely. The letter was sent out 1 year ago stating that you have sewer, and of course, the sewer going in is not a great mystery because of the disruption to the community. So everybody knew it was happening. They knew they had sewer. There's no mystery. And they also
It's our job, Mr. Campina, to educate people what is required during the process and to keep them informed. It's our obligation to keep them informed throughout the process to avoid situations like this, Mr. Campina.
Okay. Well, we get phone calls all year long, and the date's been out there, and people ask us, and they verify the date. If you're suggesting that letters go out quarterly, never been done in the past, but we can do that. That's certainly within our budget to send out quarterly letters. We could do that. It's never been done in the past. Compliance has been great. I think we have a bigger picture here, economics, and people putting it off trying to get money together. In the past, and these projects haven't been such economic times. People complied. At this time, less than a year, you look back in the prior projects, they were 95, 98% complete. We're 70. Why? I believe it's a lot to do with economics. People don't have.
Certainly not through education, Mr. Campina.
No, probably not. I think they were educated in the beginning. They were educated as the project was going on. They've been told many times that they have a year. If you were told you have a year to tie your sewer in and you totally forget about it.
Mr. Campina, Mr. Chairman, through you,
Yes,
I just
okay,
heard
I'm
you
sorry.
say that they were told, they were informed once.
They
When
were
were the
informed
other
that
times?
they were informed at meetings
Every
prior.
single one of those residents?
No, in the paper, to answer your question directly, I haven't put a piece of paper in every resident's hand and said, here you go, you have a year. We send a letter out. That doesn't mean they read the
Well,
letter.
you should have, Mr. Campina, in my
Well,
opinion, or we
okay.
as a sewer commissioner should have.
And we can certainly do that. We have another project coming up. If that's what you're suggesting, by all means, we'll send quarterly letters. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. At all.
Well, you know, quarterly letters may be good, even if it's a 6 months, because they have a year, right? They have one in the beginning when we first start. They have one in 6 months. And they should be able to stick up with that, unless, you know, like you said, there's going to be circumstance where someone's going to come in and they got a hardship or whatever, something's in the way, and it may take longer than...
We have installers that are advertising in the neighborhood. They got signs, they got contracts, they have deadlines. The installers are knocking on doors. They're constantly reminded that they have to put sewer in. If we'll send letters, I have no problem doing that. But again, if I didn't send them a letter, the installers are certainly knocking on doors, sending them letters. They have a 15th deadline because they want the business. That's happened to the entire project.
Yes, Mr. Begley.
Mr. Chair, I think that if necessary, this board could certainly develop a policy that the anyone that for tying in should be notified 6 months and then 90 days before the project. I think that if it was something that I was reminded of with 6 months or 90 days left to tie in, that there was going to be incur a $300 fine. I mean, a year ago, who the heck knows? They got the notice last winter, and I think last winter this time we were like buried in snow. So this year it's been very unusual. We've had very, very unusual weather. So anybody to tie in the dead of winter would be normally an unusual circumstance. However, we saw this coming you saw that over 200 people hadn't tied in. Is that correct, 200?
We found that out the end of January when we start the billing cycle, because we have to figure out how many people put in the billing cycle.
So you had no indication prior to that at all?
No, we were giving out permits. The installers were out there. They're pounding on doors. They're telling their customers to send out letters that we have till the 15th and call me. And so they've been going along. They've been cranking along. So at the end of January, we get a bill. We do a count and say, okay, we have 316. All right, so we have this much more to go. And contractors are that, you take that $200, the 200 personnel, we have 16 here. There are others being done, so that 200 may become 100. I'm not sure, but as of this second, that's what I can speak of. There's 200 out there that have not tied in. That's
well,
fact.
somehow I have to agree with Selectman Schneider. Somehow we have to make the system better so that it's not 1 week before the deadline when we're being told that 200 out of how many?
547, I believe the actual number is. I believe that's the actual numbers. I have.
So about a third,
Well,
closer
we have 316
So 30 to
tied,
40% of people have not tied in.
Correct, 30%. The number was 70% have tied as of January 31st. Now, we've done a few last week, and I don't have that number, but I'm using the number of January 31st. There was 70% compliance, yes.
Well, I find it unfortunate that we're finding out a week before the deadline. Certainly we can, if this board so wishes, entertain the ones that you have before you, but I'm reluctant to direct you to grant anybody's extension, and I'm reluctant to do so just on a blanket basis without it being a case-by-case basis.
No.
Mr. Holmes?
What does it cost tie in?
It varies.
You know, these people that are tying in, what is it?
$1,900 to $4,000, depending on how far they got to go out, what they have to do to banding a system. Some are greater than others. Some people have to flip plumbing. That's a cost. So it can be as high as $4,000. It can be as little as $1,900. This is the first project that any letters have gone out, save the first one. All the other products, only one letter went out, and we had great compliance. This is the first product only that we've done the same. Nothing. Everything's been replicated from 2005 to present. So I just have to say that part of this issue, we've been doing this forever, the same way, and we've had compliance. So yeah, maybe it's time to change, like everything else, change times or whatever. However, I think the bigger issue is economics. People are putting it up and up trying to gather money.
That's just an assumption.
Yeah,
an
absolutely,
opinion.
absolutely. By what I'm hearing in the streets, and people are saying that they're not going to tax, they can't afford it, and we direct them to the economic development to help out, and that's how we get that done. But with the policies that's in place, is one letter went out. We've never sent more than one letter. But we can do that. And I agree with your point that it's a problem today. We'll do that to complete this project and the next project. We'll make sure the next project doesn't have the same problems. We have one starting this spring.
Now, that
We'll do-
policy you said has been in place, one letter, and everybody's been compliant. You have no people out there that haven't tied in, they're supposed to have been tied in.
Well, when I say compliance, 96%, 90%, because every project has people that haven't tied in.
Okay, so there are with other projects, 90% have tied in.
Correct, at least 90,
With
96,
the 10%
90%.
that haven't, have we been finding them? No.
No.
We've done nothing.
Okay, we haven't even.
We've done nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Is that a written policy?
Yes.
So you have a written policy that a notice goes out telling people that they have a one-year deadline?
Yes, the policy is that at the end, once the town has accepted the pump stations, accepted the project, a letter is drafted, betterment set, a letter is drafted, and it has all the bylaws in it as far as the penalty and the bylaw that states you will tie in, that you have a year to tie in, and if you do not comply, that the punishment is $300 a day per fine. That's the policy, and we've been following it for years.
So that says one letter goes out?
It says
that
send a
policy
letter out.
says one letter goes out at the beginning of the year?
It says send a letter. It doesn't say any follow-up letters. It doesn't say someone 6 months. It says send a letter. That's all it says. It's send a letter, so we send a letter. And that's been the way it's been done all along. We've never
And
sent
that's in
more
the
than one
bylaw
letter.
or the policy?
It's just policy that the treatment plan is written up pertaining to...
So it's a selectman's policy?
No, I don't believe it's a selectman policy. I don't believe the selectman has any policy. It just says send a letter out. I don't see it. It's at the treatment plant. So if it's a policy, you have it in your policy.
Did I
book,
still
then-
have the floor here? I mean, I was trying to ask him a question.
I don't know.
Well, Sid, what do you mean if you have the floor? Wait, excuse me. You always have the floor. You always, so, what's the difference?
What I'm trying to make is, you know, if it's $5,000, you could send me 47 letters. And if I don't have the $5,000, I'm not going to do it. You send I agree that, you know, there should be more of an ongoing dialogue, not you, but us and the taxpayers. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're looking forward to the sewer commissioner board, so that they spend full time on that issue. I agree more communication is better, but you could send me, like I said, 40 letters. If I ain't got the $5,000, you're going to start tacking on $300 a day, right, by this policy.
Right.
You know, well, after a month, that's what? $900 a month, $1,000 a month, and before you know it, I mean, it's just too overwhelming.
Listen to the residents in the streets in this particular project. Economics has been a major concern, and it's that straightforward. And
But I agree, any kind of communication is better. But
Absolutely,
if
I
somebody
agree.
comes to us and says, I'm surprised I have to tie in that there's a sewer project here, I would be shocked.
it's open and notorious, but I'd be shocked too. But I'm sure there are. And again,
Do you think there are
to-
people who don't?
No, I don't believe there's anybody that
Who
doesn't
don't
know.
believe that? Who don't know there's a sewer project going?
I don't believe anybody doesn't know. I believe everybody is aware. They may not have, they may have misplaced the date. February 15th, is it March 15th? I can understand that, absolutely. So to Selectman Slider's point, send a letter, remind them that it's the 15th, because then they say, well, maybe it's in March. Absolutely. So they remind them that it is the 15th of February, that's valid.
Reminders,
That's right,
I
that's
understand
valid. Absolutely.
Well, the question was brought before us. I don't hear any
Question?
motion
What question?
about what we're going to do with the...
No, on a case-by-case basis. I thought
I agree. I think that's proper, case-by-case basis,
Yeah.
and take it as it is and deal with it as it comes along.
Do you have some that we need to vote on tonight, Mr. Camp?
I have a letter here from a contractor that's 16. He needs an extension. He can't make the February 15th date. Whatever he feels reasonable. There's no way he's going to get all 16 done by February 15th.
Does he have a date for completion on any
Well,
of them?
he's asking for 6 months because if the weather this weekend's supposed to turn bad, but we're only assuming. He's saying that after this weekend he won't be able to get in the ground. So, but I don't know.
Well, you said that it does affect the economics of it because they don't get charged a sewer fee, right?
Correct.
Till they tie in.
Correct.
So if they tie in by the 15th, you start billing them a sewer fee on the 15th for the year.
Actually,
correct?
the bill goes out in August. Yes.
All right, all
but
right.
but you're right because it goes back to the date they tied in.
You
So
start,
absolutely.
you start paying when you use it, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if the deadline's the 15th,
That's right.
and you get an extension, you're not paying a sewer fee.
You're absolutely right.
Until April or May.
That's right. That's right.
So, I'm not here to make a motion, but I would be of the understanding that rather than charge you $300 a day, you pay your sewer fee.
I don't have a problem with that.
Well, the question I
That's
asked...
a legal issue.
The question I asked in the beginning was...
We've got 22 out there that we billed, $22,000, and it's become a major legal issue. So I'm not so sure if that's the way to go.
Well,
We've
that was
already
the
done
question I asked in the beginning. What was the ramification payment-wise? And you didn't answer. I said, is it going to stop the abatement, the sewer fee,
No,
or
they
anything
just
else?
recharge them
So,
when they actually connect.
in other words, if they want a date, we'll say it's the 15th. From the 15th on, you will be charged, even if we give you an extension.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's legal or not, but
I certainly
because we
I don't
won't be
have a problem
losing
with it.
anything.
I have no problem.
Instead of them getting charged $300 a day, all we're charging is the sewer rate for the next 6 months.
I have no problem with that.
I don't know, but you said it's a case by case. So.
You can't do that if we have a bylaw and a policy.
If it's case by case, he has a list from a contractor. That's not case by case.
No, that's
He's
16.
saying- He says it's 16 on here, and it says that we
Yeah, but that's not case by case.
No, you're right.
That's
This is
a
16.
contractor submitting a list, and you're working on his time frame. So the
That's right.
contractor could be looking at his workload, saying, "Hey, I'm going to spread this out."
Well, what he's saying is I
keep
have
his
these
guys working.
That's right.
Well,
How do we know that that's optimum?
That's
Steve,
right. I
Mr.
would say
Chairman.
spring the latest, but not,
Yeah, Mr. Snyder.
I'm not
Oh.
picking on you either.
no.
Mr. Snyder.
Sometimes the residents will all go with a certain contractor in order to reduce their hookup costs because he's already mobilized in the area. Is that the case with this
This
particular?
gentleman, he has quite a bit of the 316 we have, and he's got more as we speak that he's signing up. So he's obviously they're happy with him for whatever reason, and a lot more use him than the other contractors, and so his workload is going to be pretty significant. And so he has 16 right now. He pulled out 5 more permits I haven't signed off on, and he's got others coming in. So, and he's saying that he's not going to get to all these by the 15th. And he suggested 6 months, but certainly if the board felt that a month, or that's certainly with, I would definitely make sure that happened, whatever he felt was proper.
And the unfortunate part of that is, some people's prices, if he can't get them all done by a certain date, could be affected because he doesn't have the volume that he's doing.
Well, these are all in the contract, so as he gets them in, he puts them on the contract, so he's obligated these individuals to hold the price of whatever he gave them. So if it takes whatever it takes, if fuel goes up, whatever, he's still obligated to do it at the cost he's agreed upon.
So then that goes back to Selectman Holmes's point that this is a case-by-case basis because this is as a result of this particular vendor not either having enough manpower.
Yeah.
Has to be case by case.
Yeah, I think so.
So I agree with Selectman Holmes.
And we'll take him in case by case, we'll vet him, and then we'll have him in front of the board. I mean, I think that's fair. I think the board has to
And
be
in the
involved.
meantime, what are you doing with the other 150?
We'll get letters out, as Selectman Snyder stated. But again, I must say this, that the contractors have made them all aware of the deadline. I mean that sincerely. They out there pounding on doors.
Besides that, the deadline is coming and it's over. What are we going to do about it? What's going to happen with the other 150? If we do it case by case, you got 150 left. What are you going to do with the 150? Are they going to be fined $100? Are they going to be fined $100 a day starting from February 15th?
That's a bylaw. And
Well, that's what I'm saying. What are we going to do?
Let us go out and say to the residents that your day has come and gone and you will be fined. Now, whether that fine is upheld or collected, I don't know, but they'll be fined daily. And it compels them to tie in.
If it hasn't been done for the other 10% that's still out there, that it never tied into the system that's 5-6 years old, and we haven't done anything with them.
Are these letters sent out certified to these residents saying that they actually received them? Just out of curiosity.
Not to my knowledge. We sent them out. No, we did not send them out certified. No, we haven't.
And I know that that's an additional expense, but at the end of the day,
At least you have a documentation.
A receipt that they received it.
A documentation.
I mean, that doesn't change my mind about the need for notification. I don't think that one's notification is sufficient in any event. But
I agree, and it's not. And I'll even expand a little bit, Selectman Snyder. It's not only that; it's communication with the residents in general, because we're starting to get a lot of wipes and products that are causing us harm. So there should be quarterly newsletters, and including the newsletter, don't forget you got to tie in. So I agree with you 100%. The meal communication with our customers generally, and this is just one thing we add in the blurb. Don't forget your date. And don't flush this, don't flush that, because it's starting to cause us money, because we have to clean them out, stop. It's actually costing the community money. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, and we're trying to develop that type of communication. So that'll definitely be included.
These people were all informed that the sewer project was going in. Have they all been notified of their betterment assessment?
Absolutely,
Have
yes.
they all received these letters from the town saying, your betterment is X, you have options A, B, and C here? Did they receive letters?
On contract one, absolutely, yes.
That's what we're talking about, contract
Yes,
one.
yes.
Yeah.
They receive betterments. They know their betterments. There's no mystery here. There's no mystery. It's open and notorious. Like I said, I agree with Secretary Snyder, whether it's February 15th, March 15th, they knew there was a year. They just may have slipped the mind of the actual date. But there's no mystery that, hey, I've got to comply with this. And it's been done for years. It's not something that we just did today. And it's open and notorious. And we're in the neighborhood, and they're telling us. I mean, we hear the stories. They can't afford it, got this. I mean, so I don't really know.
So case by case? Go ahead.
Case by case. I'm looking at the bylaw about penalties, and I'm looking at Division 5, Article 9, Section 2. It says any person who violates any provision of this bylaw shall be punished by a fine of $300. Interestingly enough, it doesn't say per day, which may be in the policy. In addition, pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 83, Section 10, as I'll kind of cut to the chase. It says that they shall be for anyone who violates any provision of this bylaw shall be liable for a civil penalty of not more than $5,000. So I'm thinking that would be total. Each day or portion thereof during which a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. So I guess that's where the per day comes in. But there is that disclaimer for $5,000. and each provision of this bylaw or regulation violated shall constitute a separate offense. So this kind of addresses a scofflaw. So I guess you could say it's $300 a day, but not more than 5,000. So that's what's the danger is, that it's going to cost them another $5,000. And I think that it should go out in the language of the letter, that they run the risk of being penalized $5,000. I mean, if they come before this board and we have people that say, you know, I've been ill, I've been out of work, I mean, whatever their circumstances, we're certainly going to take it by case basis, but certainly not for those that choose to disregard.
I agree. So we get a letter out. Is that the discretion of the board? Get a letter out, speaking to the bylaw.
Question's been, so we're going to send a letter out. And what are you going to do with this case, the case he's just brought up?
Yeah, these cases we certainly need to know more about to vote on. Is that correct? We're going to vote on these this evening, since they did come before the deadline?
It's not on the agenda.
No, it isn't. That's why I put it on other business, because I didn't know.
I agree.
Okay. So
Next one's the 21st. Make sure that letter goes out.
Yes. So you want the letter out? The letter out about the bylaw violation. Get that letter out.
And put the dollar
About
amount that's in there.
Is that
Yes.
could you just, since you could probably do this and it wouldn't take you very much time, Mr. Campina, is it all right with this board that Mr. Campina sends a copy of that letter to this board? We're not going to deliberate, but just that we know what goes out. What do you think, Mr. Holmes? But I think if you can just, whatever you're going to communicate with these folks, could you send it to us?
Absolutely. I'll take it one step further. I'm meeting with Mr. Bowen tomorrow, and that was going to be part of our discussion. Because I want to make sure the language was legal that was going out, and I want him to read it, him to read the bylaw, and make sure that what I'm sending out is appropriate to the bylaw. And then I'll send a copy to the board. And
So, you know, a letter in an envelope goes in the trash. So half the
Postcard?
people aren't even going to read your letter, Mr. Campino.
Okay, no,
This
postcard?
this isn't to explain the whole ball of wax. It's just a postcard that says, "Hey, it's time to change your oil." Right?
Okay.
Your sewer deadline is, and here's what happens if you don't. There are potential fines up to $5,000. Simple.
But
Keep it simple.
But so serious. Do you think it should go out certified mail? I mean, it's serious. 5,000. If somebody was going to charge me 5,000, all right, postcard it is.
This isn't the first they've heard about it.
No, but it isn't, but it might be last. And if it's certified, you have documentation that you send it. It's just like everyone here has a credit card. They get a bill every month. Do they pay it every month? Sometimes they get 2 or 3 before they pay it. So the same things happen with these people here. They have circumstances coming up, but we need to remind them, as the owner of the sewer, that they need to be paid and up to date. If not, they're going to be charged.
Amen.
And I think if you do certified, that's giving them 2 more weeks.
Okay.
Because we meet again on the 21st.
So certified postcards? Does that sound right? Certified postcards?
Certified, whatever they have to sign.
I don't
for.
know. Whatever you
Yeah,
tell me. I'm doing what
yes.
I'm doing what you're asking me to do. We'll get letters out to them. Postcards. I mean postcards. You want them certified or regular mail?
Certified and be documentation,
Certified postcard.
I think.
The idea of this is to get the notice out quickly, correct?
Right.
Then, I mean, I understand that, and I'm the one that raised the issue of certified letters, but I think that I meant that more going forward, because I think that getting the notice out, quickly.
It's going to be just as quick, postcard or certified.
Well, that's not necessarily the case, because people have to go to the post office to pick up the letter for a certified letter in most cases.
No
Because
matter
they're
what
not
you do,
home
they
during the day.
go
They go to
somewhere
the
to
post
pick it up.
office, right. And I think that that's just going to add additional time to it.
And a lot of these owners are out of town too, so there'll be a while before they get them
Certified
anyways.
is documented.
I would strongly recommend in this particular case that either a postcard or a letter.
Non-certified?
I'd be fine with either or.
I'm for certified myself. For that short money, it's worth it. For that short money, it's worth it.
Okay.
We're in the business. This is a business operation. We're in the business. And the same thing needs to go out to the other 10% that haven't tied in 15 years.
Question, I'll do that up. Who, you want me to email each of you?
We don't have consensus yet. What are we doing?
Certified or postcard?
Sounds certified.
I'm going to say postcard or letter, just for the expediency of the
I understand
situation.
what you're saying. I want a consensus of the board, so I don't want to be disrespectful for anyone, but I want this to go out as soon as possible. And Mr. Chair, could you just have, rather than us making a motion and wasting our time, could you just have people raise their hands that want certified?
For the board.
Yeah.
Who wants certified?
So then, can we just make a motion then that a postcard goes out?
Okay, if you want a postcard, send a postcard.
Do you need, you don't need a motion for that, do you?
Okay, and do you need an email tomorrow of what's going to be on that postcard?
please.
And then I'll wait for the confirmation back from the email before I actually send it.
No, just send it.
Just send it? Okay. Okay.
I'm speaking for the board. What do you think, board?
Right.
Yes, okay. That's it. I just want to be clear.
And tell them what the penalty is, as Mrs.
Up to $5,000.
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's all.
Pretty?
Facts. Just stick with the facts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Andrews, maybe you could put a copy of that up on the town website. You know where the banner is? Put it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we're out in the neighborhood inspecting, we can get some of these to the doors of people that are there also that haven't tied in.
That's the line you let pass before people got certified mail.
No, I agree.
Or postcard, it's going to be passed.
Okay.
Half of them are
Can
gonna
I
get
ask
it. There's some
if you all got a copy of this industrial survey? I emailed each one a copy of the industrial survey.
Yes.
I'd like to put this out to the businesses, and if you'd like, I can briefly tell you why.
Oh, it's not on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I thought this was other business.
It's not on the
I
agenda.
can't do it on the business. Oh, I thought I could do it on other
It's
business.
not on the agenda.
Maybe we have a motion.
Okay.
Follow the agenda.
I just-
thought that's what other business was, other sewer business. I misunderstood. I thought other sewer business was other sewer business.
Not when you kind of sent it to us ahead of time,
Oh,
et cetera,
so
et
they sent it-
cetera.
Okay,
We can do that.
okay.
All right. Moving along. Be here till 2 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
You just keep rambling
Enough.
on.
Well, I just, we had an incident at the plant that brings this into question.
Mm-hmm.
And the town has, this treatment plant that I'll take responsibility for many, many years, has been taken to funeral homes. It's industrial waste. We can't take it unless we have industrial pretreatment program. Straightforward.
Right, but we
So I
can't.
want to put one in. That's all. Because we have an incident, the gentleman, he got covered. I want to nip it in the bud. And so,
We do it on the 21st, guy, or not?
yes, I can do it. Well, I can wait. I'll wait.
Should be on the agenda.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
We can always amend the agenda.
Okay. So I'll put it on the agenda. Okay. I'll start throwing things on the agenda, or I'll request it. I'd like to request the 21st agenda to make sure we have the Siemens
February.
presentation, February 21st, the Siemens presentation.
It said the 20.
I requested 21st.
It was yeah, it was on the binder.
Mhm.
Make sure you bring this
Right.
with you on the 21st.
I have it
We
right
got
here.
the binder. Well, you have yours, right?
I have it right here.
Okay.
It's already on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Holmes.
Liaison reports. Thanks, Guy.
Thank you.
Just quickly, I was looking at my calendar, Board of Health meetings at 4 p.m. on Wednesday the 15th. At their last meeting, they had a workshop on the nitrogen regulations. And also on the 15th, which is Wednesday, Transportation Action Committee will meet in this room at 7 p.m. The Minot Forest is continuing their discussion with legal, et cetera, for the red pine plague.
I think I covered under the Finance Committee earlier.
Mr. Holmes, liaison.
Liaison, no signing documents, I'm sorry.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Buses in here,
Can we have a motion?
There's no buses in here?
Mr. Holmes, can we have a motion?
I'm sorry.
Can we have a motion?
No, he wanted to, he had his
He
liaison.
doesn't have any. He
No, I
doesn't.
don't have any. I'm good.
I thought you were going
Motion to
talk
adjourn
about
by
the
Ellen.
Finance Committee.
Well, I think we talked about it earlier.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You sure there's no buses